It's November 29th, 2021. First order of business is the pledge. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the approval of the minutes from October 25th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Yeah, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I say.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes from the October 25th, 2021 meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved.
Roxanne, if we can make sure that everybody's speaking clearly into the microphone.
Yes.
CDC is having some level issues with the gooseneck mics.
Okay, so I guess I don't have any place to put my stuff then when I have. Order of business. Excuse me. The next order of business is citizens' comments. These are for things that are not on our agenda this evening. If you were here for the Twin Ridge Professional Park or the annexation or the rezoning request, I would ask that you wait until those are brought up. If there are any other comments, concerns that you have that are not on the agenda. Yes, sir. Oh,
Ron?
please, I'm sorry, please state your name and your address when you come up.
Ron Thompson, Van Mar Associates. As we're all aware, the MXD, MXU ordinance is rather new in terms of the process, and we actually got off on a little bit out of sequence on the Green Tree Village. However, I think we're back in sequence now in that we now have a Board of Appeals approval for an MXU on CC and have submitted the pre-concept sketch plan. Per the ordinance, there's a rather lengthy process that once we submit that to the town planning staff and the planning commission, then there is a workshop that is held, followed by a public hearing by the planning commission that requires 30-day notice, then followed by a combined workshop, charrette, however you want to call it, with the town council and planning commission, then followed by a combined public hearing of the planning commission, town council, at which time after that has been held, the town council then could vote to, in a meeting, vote to approve that. That's a rather lengthy process, and I'm here tonight to see whether or not we can start to get on the schedule for it, because as I understand, there's no meeting in December of the Planning Commission.
We typically do not have a meeting in December, that's correct.
And whether or not we can begin to start to schedule, get on a schedule or think about a schedule for that, whether at this point or later in the meeting, because it impacts not only you, but it also impacts the town council members.
We'll discuss it at the end. We'll get it on the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, anyone else? The next item under is for the Carroll and Frederick County planners. Presently, the Carroll County planners are still sending us an update or a memorandum. They are not meeting us in person yet, so I will read the Carroll County memorandum into record. This is from Hannah Weber, our planning technician. Below are the updates for the from the county for your planning commission on November 29th, 2021. Number 1, residential text amendment was transmitted to the BCC in September. The public hearing for the text and 2 map rezonings in the Eldersburg area were held on November 18th. The information can be found at www.carrollrezoning.org. Number 2, agricultural and conservation zoning text amendment is the next step in the countywide comprehensive rezoning process. Staff is working on changes to the agriculture and conservation zoning districts with assistance of a work group. Information can be found once again the same place, www.carrollrezoning.org. Number 3, transportation master plan. A second survey was crafted and open for responses until the end of November. Thank you for taking the time to read these at the meeting tonight. Signed, Hannah Weber, Planning Technician for the Carroll County Department of Planning. Next is the Frederick County Planner. I think we have Tim here. I'm hearing myself.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
Members of the Planning Commission. I'm Tim Goodfellow from the Frederick County Planning Department. I have 2 presentations for you this evening. I know you have a lot of items on your agenda, so I will be quick with this, and John and Deb are going to help me advance the slides this evening. Okay, so the first presentation is just a quick update, an overview of the development in the eastern portion of the county, Linganore and Newmarket. I'll talk about 2 planning initiatives we have underway. I'll go into more detail on the Sugarloaf area plan that we're currently underway with, and then just mention the South Frederick Corridors plan, and what I mentioned last month is the Peace and Plenty Rural Historic District that's proposed in the eastern part of the county as well, just north of Newmarket. So this just shows an aerial map of the Linganore area, Linganore Town Center specifically. The Linganore Town Center south there in the lower right. Those 4 developments have had site plan approval: the Goddard School, a medical office building, the IHOP, and the 7-Eleven and a gas station. And then across the street from that, south of the high school, is the formal Linganore Town Center, and that's still kind of in concept stage. Nothing's been submitted or approved for that yet. And then on the left portion of the screen, the county has required, as part of the rezoning for that Cromwell piece you see in the DeLauder, the extension of Linganore Boulevard, and that's required to be constructed before the development occurs. We have had a preliminary subdivision plan approved for the DeLauder piece there at Meadow Road and 144, 8 employment lots, and the Cromwell age-restricted community. Nothing has been submitted on that at this point. And just one other note, about the Meadow Road interchange. If you're traveling eastbound on 70, that ramp to Meadow Road, that has had all the access permits approved by the State Highway Administration, and they're nearing completion of their improvement plans to actually start construction. So that should be underway in the wintertime. Then the next slide just shows a little graphic of that Linganore Town Center South with those 4 developments I mentioned earlier. This is the town within the town of Newmarket. Those 2 sites there has been approved for redevelopment to develop 27 townhome lots. That's where the current Lawson's auto or small engine repair facility is, along with those mobile homes. And those are taking up 2 of those parcels adjacent to the Newmarket Elementary School and the Newmarket Middle School. And that's been approved by the town. The property was rezoned and the subdivision plan has been approved. And that's just a schematic of the 27 townhomes fronting Main Street. So it's a great redevelopment within the small town of Newmarket. Next one, this property on the eastern edge of Newmarket, the town boundary is shown in green there, and then the red is our community growth area. That property, now known as England's Woods, they were in discussion with the county for a rezoning for an age-restricted community. but they decided to proceed with annexation into the town of Newmarket. I believe those negotiations are ongoing now. Then this is a slide you saw earlier about the Peace and Plenty Rural Historic District, the first in Maryland, still underway with negotiations and discussions with the property owners. A lot of work involved there by our historic preservation staff. The South Frederick Corridors Plan is the second plan that's underway in Frederick. Has not been released yet, pending release soon to the Planning Commission. So I'll have my colleagues come and brief you on that. It's a redevelopment plan for generally the 85-355 area. So the next presentation is just a briefing on the Sugarloaf area plan. I do have more slides here than the other one, so I'll try to race through these. I know you have a lot on your agenda this evening.
That is the same one we looked at already.
There's a... I have it on the...
One here, so 1 second here.
That's it. Okay. So we are working on the Sugarloaf Treasured Landscape Management Plan.
There we go.
So some nice photos. You know, as we all know, Sugarloaf is a very, very beautiful and scenic and bucolic area, a very unique mountain in the southern portion of the county. Scenic roads, breathtaking vistas. It's a beautiful place, a real gem we have in our area. Yeah, there are a couple of multiple slides in here. So the Livable Frederick Master Plan contains this thematic plan or conceptual development plan, as you see on the right. Advance again. And Sugarloaf is described appropriately in the green infrastructure sector of the thematic plan. Yep. And once more. So Sugarloaf is described as a rural heritage landscape within Livable Frederick. And then the implementation plan for Livable Frederick calls for a specific plan be created and written for Sugarloaf in addition to other things. That's what we're doing. We did kick this off February of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. There was a briefing by the county executive. We did have a community open house live in person before everything was shut down. So the plan, and we did release a briefing book, like a background and introduction to the plan and some of the issues and challenges in the area. And as you all know, as you review your master plans, some of the processes here, we did release the draft plan in July of this year. We did hold 2 community open houses before our Planning Commission workshops began. And the Planning Commission work sessions did begin in September. They're ongoing now. We're having 2 a month. And then the county council will, they're the approving authority for the plan. So they will most likely get this probably in March, April next year to begin their review, hearing, and approval process. Okay, the structure, those are the chapters within the Sugarloaf plan. Of course, we have a vision statement and goals, which I'll share in a moment, and then policies and initiatives or action items within each chapter. And then I want to just touch a little bit on the overlay district. We are proposing, recommending an overlay zone be applied to this area to address scale, intensity, different uses, and things like that, because it is such a environmentally sensitive area. We acknowledge that and want to protect that. It is a conservation plan and a protection plan. So this is just showing the boundary of the Sugarloaf planning area as it exists now. The Planning Commission has made some changes to this. They can make any modification, as you know, to the draft plan to develop their recommended plan that they transmit to the county council. So the southern boundary is the Montgomery County line there. Generally the east boundary is Interstate 270 with some modifications. Then the western boundary is generally the Monocacy River down to the Potomac River. So just kind of going through these quickly, the overall goals of the plan, again, a conservation focus, environmental protection focus here. Once you read those. Yeah, these are broad and lofty goals. Then the next slide is a longer statement. I'll let you read that, the vision statement that guides the plan.
Gordon, can you turn the volume off of that television inside the,
Yeah, I keep hearing the,
because I'm recording it, it's going back through
yeah.
the monitor that's in there, I'm pretty sure. Because
Yeah,
I
'cause
keep hearing
keep
something
hearing
too, I'm
myself.
like, "Are you
Thank you, I'm not going crazy.
hearing something?"
Yeah.
Okay, we can advance, John. Okay, so the overlay zone. So we have drafted an ordinance for the Planning Commission and the council to consider to begin their discussion. And the goals, again, as I mentioned, to address the scale and intensity of uses, impacts on the neighborhood, the water quality, the road network. It's pretty broad and specific, so it's an actual proposed, an ordinance that could be submitted for legislation. However, the council wants to tweak it, but it is a full ordinance that's been drafted and in the plan. So those are the goals of the plan, and then the purpose and intent statement, just kind of, why we're doing this, why it's needed, and what it's going to do, and how it will act and function. Okay, the next one, John. So as I mentioned, there is a regulatory component to this, addressing incompatible uses in a highly sensitive landscape. The overlay zone addresses the scale and intensity and impact of development on community resources, overall community resources that exist there. It does have design standards to address such things as lighting and architectural elements and facades of non-residential buildings. There is a proposed, a list of prohibited uses that are proposed in the overlay. Again, to look at overall community impact. And this was developed in conjunction with our advisory group we worked with for about a year while we were developing the plan. And then we are proposing a square footage maximum for new non-residential structures, again, to address intensity of uses, stormwater runoff, traffic generation, overall community impacts. And that's it. So we're well underway with our Planning Commission workshops. That'll continue until next year when they have a public hearing and then formally transmit the plan to the county council. So that concludes my presentation on our latest work and actions in the planning department. I can take any questions if you'd like, if you have any.
You have any questions? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is Sharon Suarez in the county planning, or is she in city?
Well, she was on our planning commission. She accepted a position with the city of
City,
Frederick
okay.
Planning, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
It's interesting because it's two very different plans.
Yep.
Very different
You know,
plans.
two very different areas of the county.
So hopefully we'll see you in January.
Yes.
Tim? Yes. Okay. Our next item is the site plan subdivision and amended plat. We're hearing S 20-0032. It's the Twin Ridge Professional Park, Lot 7A, the concept site development plan for the mini storage facility. Deb, will you go get the sign-in sheet for me, please? We'll first have the owner or the representative, the owner, speak, which is, or you're gonna do the staff report
No,
first?
no, we can let Ron speak. I just wanted to ask about the volume of the thing. Is it still acting? Are you still hearing your voice?
No, thank goodness, no.
Thank you. Ron Thompson, Van Mar Associates, here on behalf of LDG Lee Development Group, who will be the developers of Lot 7A. I believe in the previous planning commission meeting, you approved the combination of the two lots into one lot. Now, Lot 7A sits in the middle of really the industrial park. It's bounded by the CSX Railroad. It has industrial lots between it and the Twin Ridge residential. The proposal is for a mini storage facility. And in reality, the mini storage has really the minimal impact to the town, both in terms of water and traffic. Once it's constructed, people store their items in storage lockers. They don't come back every day to check on them. Many of them probably forget what they store there after a period of time. Particularly as they downsize in their homes, they need a place to provide for their additional materials. In terms of water, the water service will really be only for the office part in terms of so-called water allocation. The rest of the buildings, all of the storage facilities will not use water other than connected to a sprinkler system as would be required for certain buildings. The proposed buildings themselves, I should say, start with the main access will be from Rising Ridge Road into where the office is and through a security gate. There is also an additional security gate along at the end near Parkside Drive. However, that is for emergency services, maintenance. The general public, QBEX, wants everybody coming into and out of the facility to come through and pass the office. So it will not be open to the users or for somebody to come in, just drive in the rear portion of the lot. The development itself will be a phased development. It is 125,000 square feet of storage facility, and it will be built over time as buildings are rented out. And depending upon the type of buildings, you may see kind of a hopscotching between the site, because there are lower end buildings, and then you have buildings A, F, and C are two-level buildings, but two-level means you enter one floor on the upper side, and then as you're driving down the site, which slopes from Rising Ridge Road to Parkside Drive, you would enter the lower level from the western side of that building.
Okay.
The joint access on Parkside Drive was platted as part of the lot 6 and 9, so that it really is the only location of which we can use for the lower lot, or formerly Lot A, down there. As was noted, forest conservation requirements were satisfied previously with Twin Ridge Professional Park Subdivision. We have kind of landscape approval. County told me I had too much landscaping to fit on the site, which I did, and have pared it back to being a more manageable amount of landscaping. That doesn't mean it's going to be bare.
Right.
I almost had trees on trees that would have died over time there. So, and it's a healthy program where the entire site is surrounded with trees, shrubbery around the building. We talked about the staff report notes that were within the required lot areas, lot width, yards, as well as the building heights for it. And I've mentioned how each of the buildings are, we've spaced out the parking throughout the site around the buildings. In reality, you almost at times think you maybe have too much parking because not everybody's going to be there at one time in parking, but nevertheless, there is sufficient parking meeting the town code within the site. We did provide materials, architectural rendering by the architect for it. The intended operator is CubeSmart. You can see that their architectural elevations are somewhat upscale from what you would normally see in an industrial park. And they are in there for each of the buildings. The previous diagram was the entry level for it. So they represent the conceptual elements of it. There are sidewalks along both Rising Ridge Road and Parkside Drive already exist for the development. We did have a lighting diagram. The lighting is, of course, building mounted lights, so it will not be a bright spot, so-called, for lights and fitting into the surrounding environment. Stormwater Management, we have received concept plan approval, which quite frankly in Carroll County is close to 75–80% approval. They make us go a lot farther than used to be to get the approvals for it, on it. Our aisles vary in length all the way down to 22 feet, which is consistent for parking aisle, parallel parking. We have no perpendicular parking other than what's out in front of Building A. I mentioned water sewer is available on the site. Again, water service would only be for the office part of the site, toilets, water fountains, so forth. The rest of the site would be sprinkler type water, and we've run a water line all the way through the site in order to provide adequate fire protection in terms of hydrant spacing through the site, as well as being used to connect sprinkler systems as what will be required under the building code for it.
Okay.
That is a brief summary. I can answer questions until we get to the recommendation. I'd like to come back and talk about that.
Go ahead. Does any commission members have any
I was
questions?
gonna, I would like to keep an eye on the lighting. When I've seen the CubeSmarts around in the area, I agree with you with traffic impact, and they do architecturally they do look actually really nice, but they are very well lit. And I'm not saying they're bright or too bright. I'm just saying they provide a very safe environment for people to take their goods and drop them off, and that usually that upper area where you can see the doors and the second level is lit, but not overly lit. It's just lit. And I was just, not that I would be able to discern what it would look like from a lighting plan, but I would like to make sure that people are conscious of it, because it will be the brightest thing in the area once lit, even if everything's pointing down or directed, or, the lighting is LED and it's,
Well, understandable. And what the lighting, we had to provide a lighting diagram which makes the lighting go to zero as you get to the property, edge of the property. And the LED lighting has to conform to the town standard of that orangish brown color light, not the bright white light that you experience, that you
right,
associate
typically it
with
is
LED.
brighter.
The
Right.
town standard is much more
That is true.
3000K,
Right.
brownish in color,
That is
orange
true.
brown
because
in color.
Usually they use the newer, brighter lights on that.
the white lights.
So I guess that my experience is with that in mind. So I guess my point is that you're observing the town code with the lighting, and that's good.
I've got a couple questions.
That's all
Oh, sorry, Scott.
No, no,
I
no,
thought you were done.
No, I was.
I'm just council representative, so I just have some questions on just general questions, Ron, as normal. To build upon what Scott said about the lighting, he stole a lot of my questions and concerns with it. But one of my main primary concerns, as he pointed out, was the glass areas of where the inside storage with the glass wall. Because there's a U-Haul type storage up in Frederick on 15. And at night, the glass area is very brightly lit inside. So I'm not sure if, as Scott was saying, that'll be the brightest thing around there. So I'm not sure if there's some way that the lights can be put on like motion sensors or something so they're not on all night long.
The only really glass lighting is in Building A.
Yeah, that's what I'm,
The
yeah,
rest
but
of them,
I'm just saying.
I can mention that.
Yeah,
to
I'm
them.
just saying it's, the one on 15 is bright as all get-go at night. Let's say, I guess the hours of operations will be 24/7, I mean, just whenever someone shows up. You answered my question about the access off of Park Ridge. It seems to be just emergency use only, or a controlled access to maintenance people only. One other question, I guess you said it was a phased development, so which means that basically buildings will be built on an as-needed basis.
Right, the entire site will be prepared because there's movement of soil from one to the other, as well as probably some of the issues with storm drainage and tying everything in. And maybe building pads will be constructed, but you won't see the buildings going up until you have enough people to rent out space.
Would there be storage of vehicles, trucks there in the meantime before the buildings would be built, or is they anticipated or just the concrete pads and that's it?
That's not the, as I understand it, that's not the Cube Smart model.
Okay.
We have not built up or built out for storage.
Okay. And no U-Haul, and have they mentioned anything about truck rental services there, like U-Haul or anything?
I don't believe Cube Smart has that in their
Okay.
model.
It doesn't do
just-
that, yeah.
Okay, just asking and checking.
No, that's not my understanding for Cube Smart.
Cool. Now, other stuff I can ask Brian. I had some stormwater management questions, but it sounds like Carroll County is looking at it. I noticed there was some on-site stormwater management storage, some tanks or something to handle it, because.
No, the stormwater management for the site, because there was a regional facility put in as part of the original, which provides full stormwater management for the entire industrial park.
Okay.
We're required to provide 1 inch of environmental site design on site.
Okay.
Now, the site is such that we can't filter it into the soil, so we are using specific structures that filter it through media. It's like a bioswale in
Okay.
a structure, only a high-performance media that then goes into a storm drain system that then empties into stormwater management pond.
Okay. So
The pond itself had been sized for these two lots.
okay, so it shouldn't be a problem with.
No,
Okay.
what we have to go through to prove that is arduous.
Yes, I know that. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we don't end up later.
No,
With,
the
okay. All right. Cool. That's-
reams of paper,
okay.
many trees.
All right. Cool. All right. Thank you, Ron.
Any other commission members have any other questions?
I'm just curious as to how long it'll take to build. Section, like.
I
months
don't have an answer for you on that. I can try to find out for when, hopefully approval tonight, we come back for final site plan to give you more.
That it's built on an as-needed basis.
Well, typically, they'll probably build out maybe 3 buildings. I mean, you've got certain type of buildings will be climate controlled, some will not be climate controlled. The double stories are much higher end climate controlled. There may be others that can rent for a lower rate that are not climate controlled, and they need to have enough spaces. And there are varying sizes in there, so that when somebody wants to rent, they can put their credit card down and rent and not say, oh, well, I can't wait 6 months. So in some instances, if you sell out the 20 by 20 or the 10 by 20s, you're going to be building something to replace those quicker, even though you have capacity of a 10 by 10 or a 5 by 5 rental waiting there. It's all very much market driven by what people need for that.
I got another question here for you, Ron. Did they indicate what they would be building first, like the 2 stories, climate control is just like a mix of everything? That's one question.
I know that building A will be first up.
Yeah, the
And
office, yeah,
probably some of the single-story buildings up front
up front, so
will be done first.
kind of like from Rising Ridge back to Park Ridge.
Yes, but
And-
that's not to say that they might
Yeah,
skip to building, I just got
yeah, like
glasses,
H
too.
or something, yeah, I know, it's another building afterwards.
Yeah,
It's Building I, which is along Park Ridge.
or
Yeah.
building F or something like that, or, they'll be skipping along for that.
Yeah, and will there be security cameras on site and stuff? Do
Oh,
you
I
know?
assume so, yes.
Okay, so there'll be full security,
Yeah.
some type of cameras there. Okay, normally, or I just wasn't sure, it wasn't mentioned on the plan, so, okay. All right,
Well, this is a preliminary plan too,
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah, they'll have.
okay, I thought so, I just want to make sure.
I'm sorry?
See, I do have a question for.
Go ahead, John.
So Ron, on Building I, for example, I couldn't get a good elevation from what you had submitted. I feel like that side facing Rising Ridge should have some masonry element. I didn't see anything with any of these elevations showing anything about Building I. And so I'm concerned about aesthetics looking from Rising Ridge back onto the property. I did see one of these cube storages as I was going up and down the road, and they had a residential element to the building using different materials and some, not just a big uniform metal-sided building, something that has some relief, a little bit of, contours, gabled ends, or whatever it is, to give the illusion of a residential element, which might help keep the residents that are off of Rising Ridge, more satisfied, and something that's eye-pleasing.
You meant Park Ridge, right?
Park Ridge.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Carl. Off of Park Ridge. Building I is the one I'm concerned about. Because that's the first thing you're gonna see on Park Ridge.
Ron, I've got a question about elevation. Because these 2 adjoining lots actually fill the space between the railroad and the existing industrial buildings that are there. How does the elevation, and I realize, I think there's some rise and fall of the topography that this will be built on, that's adjacent to the railroad, but how does it compare to the existing industrial buildings that are above it?
Above it, they will sit, the ground elevation actually sits lower. Just upgraded our CAD and sometimes the scanning doesn't look real well. For instance, the lots up above have an elevation of around 734, and our pad elevations are at 717, 720 in there, so we do sit lower.
Well, I can see from the space now that it clearly starts at a lower point. I just wondered if, depending upon the height, what the combination would look like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? We'll now take the public comment. I have the sign-in sheet here. You will be given 2 minutes of time. Please, when you come to the podium, you announce your name and the address where you're from, the address where you live, and then you can make your comments. If someone before you has made the same comment, we would appreciate it if you would not get up to say the same thing. There are a lot of people here, And I'd like to hear as many as possible with as many different comments as possible. So the first, and if you're not going to, and if you don't want to say anything, just say, I'm not saying anything, or, or go on so that we don't waste time. And I apologize for if I mispronounce your name. I'm apologizing first. The first person I have on the list is Jim's, is it Storm? Stone? Okay.
Jim Stone, 1112 Park Ridge Court. Some of the things that we have questions on is the Park Ridge, is it a controlled entrance? I understand that's what they say it is, but, can we make that official that people won't be coming in and out? That way, lots of transient people come into the storage, and with our houses being right there, especially our courts being used as a U-turn, coming in and coming out, coming up towards the school. Lots of traffic. We're worried about that. People coming in, especially at Park Ridge, our house are right there. It's easy just to sit there and look at people's houses as you're driving in. So I guess one of the other questions is, will there be a little bit more of like a policing area there? With the residential, especially with the school being there. We know there's a building, in between them and the school, but there is a school there where the kids are there. So, we have some concerns about that. Traffic coming up because our kids have to walk to school. Mm-hmm. They don't have the luxury of taking the bus. So more and more traffic coming in and out, people driving around the neighborhood is a major concern for us. So, thank you.
Thank you. We'll take all your comments and then we'll kind of speak to them for time. The next person I have is it Jade or JD? Okay, I'll remember that. And, okay, so there's three that are on Springgate Court. You don't want to speak on this. Okay, gotcha. So, I know. Brian Koblenz?
Good evening. Again, Brian Koblenz. I'm at 1105 Park Ridge Drive. My three main concerns is with this particular facility, you've got a whole new element of basically industry, something Mount Airy does not have, and you're talking about putting this pretty much with my neighbors and I at the bottom of our community with a whole different element of people coming in, using a facility that may be out of town, maybe in town, we don't know. So it's going to bring, like I said, different type of people in our community that we don't want. Casing our places, driving around, making U-turns. We already have a problem with people partying at the bottom of Park Ridge Drive where there's beer cans all the time and just people throwing things out in general, parking at the bottom of our street. It's a real concern. We've talked with the police before and it just seems like it continues to happen. Number two is the runoff. I understand there's plans for runoff this particular industry. However, we currently see with Pank's industry that the storm drain is already flooded periodically. And also the CSX railroad track, which is the spur, has major flooding on the corner of the railroad crossing. So when you get heavy rain, it's flooded on the corner of Park Ridge and of course the track there. So that's something that would need to be addressed because obviously when you're putting as much impervious surface you're talking about putting in, there is going to be concern for runoff. And third but not least is property values. This comes in, many of us that live at Park Ridge Drive, what's it going to do to our property values long term? Because now you have an industry that may have some light pollution, it's the stormwater issues, people coming in and out. It's a 24-hour operation. Are we going to have noise issues? That's something we are concerned about. So thank you.
Thank you. John, is it Petro? Petro. Okay, thank you. Dave, I don't think you have anything to say. Kara? Come on.
I also live on Park Ridge Drive, and I'm very concerned that you didn't submit the view of the buildings I and H, and you spent so much of this plan focused on the middle of the side buildings, and we are very concerned at what it's going to look like, and thank you for addressing the entrance/exit questions on the Park Ridge Drive side of the facility. Thank you.
Charles, you're for the other one, correct? Charles Wheeler? Lee Daniels?
Lee Daniels, 1014 Park Ridge Drive. A couple of questions. One, he talked about traffic volume being light. What is the projected traffic volume, whether that's daily, weekly, just so we can really have a better understanding versus, can you actually quantify that statement? The other question I had was around, it is a phased rollout. So what happens if, of course, you build it, they will come, but let's say you do build the first 3 buildings and they don't come. So what does that mean for the site plan long-term? Can things or will things change mid-course to go in a different direction? That was my second question that I had. And I think the third one was more, I think already been asked, was really talking about, what does building I look like from Park Ridge Drive? So thank you.
Thank you. Tim? Or Tom? Looks like Tom Brady. Or is it Brody? I can't, sorry.
Aren't you a Giants fan?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Tim Brady, 1104 Park Ridge Drive. Just concerns about Mount Airy in general. Like, are we gonna develop every little parcel that we have industrial for commerce, for our gain to, build our community with money, or are we gonna keep it the residential, community-built neighborhood that I moved to 15 years ago that I fell in love with? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want every single parcel of land to be gobbled up for, private gain. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So, it's,
Can I go?
I'm sorry.
I was late, so I didn't sign.
Oh, do you have a late slip? No.
It's in the principle.
Okay, it's fine.
Hi, Nicholas DeTizio, 1206 Park Ridge Drive. I just want to start off by saying I think that when you guys made your approval, the last meeting, I think it was made a little too hastily. Didn't realize at that point in time that you guys were actually approving the lots to be consolidated without, I guess, more awareness out there. Didn't realize that you guys had the power to actually make that come true. I thought it actually had to go to Mount Airy's council for them to actually approve it. You guys were just making a recommendation. And I think, I speak for a lot of our residents in Twin Ridge, that if we could have stopped the buck there, we might not be having this discussion now. It's not to say that they won't build something in the future, but jumping on Tim's point, yeah, LDG owns a lot of property in Mount Airy. They start to commercialize all of it. It is going to take away from the small town feel. Right behind my house is also owned by LDG. I actually sent an email to them, called them up, asked them how much would it take to purchase that property that's right behind my house, because I don't want it to be developed. I don't want another CubeSmart or something else that LDG owns to be industrialized. I realize that's what it's zoned for, but it'd be great if Mount Airy, the council, the people that live here could band together and buy up these properties just to make them stay the way that they are and not build on them. Thank you.
Mm-hmm, thank you. So as far, do you want to, I'm sorry. Okay.
Steve O'Malley, 1106 Park Ridge. So, as Nick was saying, You agreed to merge the properties in the last meeting, but I don't think you guys realized how different each side of the industrial section, Park Ridge and Rising Ridge, are. They're two distinct and different areas. The section of Rising Ridge is more active, commercial, industrial area with businesses, has a traffic light, and it has a separation from the residential area. The Park Ridge side, which would be closer to Building I up there, it's quiet. Right now, it's full of nature. It's full of walkers. People bring their dogs, their kids down there. We have kids playing, and there's school there, and there's school traffic there. That site doesn't fit with all that. We have fields and everything with sports, and CubeSmart really doesn't go with that in the residential area. And again, the site plan, he kind of addressed it, has access from Park Ridge, but what kind of guarantee is that? Because it's a controlled access to get in the front of the CubeSmart, but they're also going to have controlled access in the back. Is there actually going to be a distinction between whether the people using the unit can have that access? Because they're both controlled accesses, because he didn't really clarify that, so I would like that clarified. Any additional traffic on Park Ridge is just dangerous for our children, and we don't want to see it. I'm worried about the setback and the fencing requirements. I assume CubeSmart has just clear metal fences in most of them. And I know for Park Ridge, if there could be a requirement where it would be a stone facade, a stone fencing, something that would help the back of that building, if it goes through, blend with the neighborhood or in the natural environment, I think, or an earthen barrier, because there's really not much of a setback between Building I and Park Ridge. Nor was there any real landscaping. I saw the gentleman mentioned a lot of landscaping, but most of it's going to be on the, I guess, the north and south sides of the buildings, not on Park Ridge or on the Rising Ridge, from what the landscape was set up. I think we would like to see something a little more substantial. Again, we're also worried about the amount of light given off. You have these two-story buildings now. It's going to be lighting up our whole Twin Ridge neighborhood. Just another thing was, the last thing I wanted to say, storage units are increased crime in the area. Not a single storage unit in the state is burglary free. In fact, the majority of them have burglaries at least once a month. I don't know what the other one is in the town that we already have, but a majority of the facilities have burglaries at least once a month. What is that going to do with our neighborhood? We sit right on top of this. We really don't want that type of crime in our area. And again, the way to combat that is more lights and cameras, which again, is going to affect our neighborhood. So I think most of the people here really don't want this CubeSmart, but I think with some of these additions, I think we can try to help it, but it's up to you guys. Thank you.
I will also say, is anyone else want to speak? We have had communication, I guess, Steve, this was your letter to the mayor? Yes. Okay. And we have one from Andrew and Ashley Mallett, and I don't know if we have one other letter or not, but we have had letters and email communications from other people in the area. I'd like to first, I understand, I guess I'll address the Park Ridge entrance. This is a concept right now. We're at the concept hearing. Nothing is in stone yet as to how. I mean, we can make changes. For instance, we can request if we feel like if we need more of a border between the residents and the CubeSmart. So we're at a concept level here, so there are other things that they're going to have to do before they get final approval, just to FYI. The only thing we have to go on that it's a controlled entrance, it's that it's going to be a controlled entrance. I'm assuming, Ron, it's going to be like locked at all times except when those people that have permission to use that entrance use it? Is it going to be secured at all times?
Correct. It will be a locked gate, not probably a key punch gate. More than likely, there will be a lockbox on it for the fire department to access, or maintenance vehicles if electrical service or something needs to be done and they're not using from the front. But it really is, for the site this size, a second access for emergency purposes.
Okay. So the only thing that we can do is trust that that's going to happen. If it doesn't, we also have our own, obviously, the Mount Airy Police Department is, I'm sure, is going to be there close, especially during the times when the children are walking to and from school. I think we can make that happen. I think that's important that they be there. People are shaking their head that they're not there now. So, no, we're not going to have. Stop. Sorry. I'm sorry. You need to make your comments at the microphone with your name and address, because this is for the record. I'm sorry.
Charles Wheelock.
Okay.
402 Springgate Court.
Okay.
All right. And so if you're going to have a road going into the back of this facility off of Park Ridge, people are going to come to that and pull in there, and they're not going to know what to do. He says there's going to be a keypad. They're going to try to punch in. This is going to happen all the time. There's going to be people on that road constantly. So, I mean, there's got to be a better plan than that. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Done, sorry. So I would wonder if the whatever they are, LDG would consider fewer buildings, like getting rid of I and H at least, and having no access on the Park Ridge Drive, because that seems to be a huge issue.
It's a question of financial and economics for the development. At one point, we had deleted a building and it became marginal as to whether or not the project could financially work. So this is now, what we'll be putting in the plan is that it's a secured gate for emergency purposes, and we'll, add the necessary detail that people are assured that it is not general public. In fact, it won't be advertised there. If you are renting, you will come to the front to establish a rental space. And at such time, you'll be given, if you sign a lease, you'll be given a code in which to punch in for the gate up at Building A, the primary, so that you can go into the facility and exit via that gate.
So will it be a different code at the other gate?
No code. I think that what I've heard, I have to talk to the developer, but what I've heard is that there shouldn't be codes there. It should be locked with a lockbox. If the police department has to get in, or the fire department, it's a standard lockbox. They have the code or the key. I think it's a key that they have to get in. The same with maintenance personnel would have that. If somebody is coming to fix the lights in a building, they're going to come to the office first and check in order to be let into the facility, so that the people who are operating the facility know that there's maintenance on site. It's not just come and go.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question to the
Mhm.
Removing a couple of buildings, because earlier you said it's going to be phased in, and somebody asked, like, if you build it and they don't come, so what if, like, they say that it's only financially viable if they have all through building I, but what if they don't get rented, then it becomes non-financially viable. So there's no way, like, there's no plan B as it currently stands in case it doesn't get.
Well, we hope that's not the case, but a plan B would be they'd have to come back in an amended site plan and propose something different on the site. Right now, they believe that
Yeah, but they wouldn't know until after. 'cause
Well,
you're saying
but
they're gonna
there's
phase build.
enough research that they have done between themselves and CubeSmart to move forward at this point. It's not there's a significant, CubeSmart does their own market study to determine whether or not this will work, and they'll sign up to lease the site and build the buildings. So it's not, we'll build some industrial flex buildings and hope that we can rent out the spaces.
They're betting that they can rent them out.
Well, they've got a market study. CubeSmart's done a market study that
It says that they can.
they can.
You have to remember, there's already a storage place in Mount Airy, and it's successful. I mean, I don't know, a gentleman
know if
mentioned
it's full?
crime.
Full?
I don't know if it's full.
It's full.
It must.
I was gonna say it must be full or they wouldn't be here.
But, I mean, there's no significant observable traffic issues. There's no light issues around that. And I've never heard of any crime, it's probably been there 15 going on.
Not really
20.
near the residential. I mean, it's across from
It's-
the,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's Health
not-
Unlimited,
Well,
and-
it's right near the Twin Arch crossing town.
but it's not bordering it. I know exactly where it is because I go to the.
No,
gym.
but the
Actually, it
access
does
is
for-
very similar to here. It's through an industrial park,
Yeah.
which is what we're proposing. We're not proposing primary access, any type of access other than emergency from Parkside Drive. So it is in keeping with what you see in the Twin Arch Business Park
Well, if you-
versus the Twin Ridge Professional Park.
Yeah, I mean, if you stake it out for a couple hours, you'll get a good impression of what a storage facility looks like while it's operating in the day. It's not a lot of activity, but, Ron, some kind of, if building I is crucial, it would be nice if, I think it appears to be a one-level building, a wall, an earth barrier, or shrubbery would block that, it would block the light, block the visibility of it easily, I guess. It's a pretty long building, but, I mean, it would be a suggestion.
If I can kind of just do a brief response to some of the questions. They may not be totally complete.
Yes,
but-
one thing before, I don't know, Nick, okay, so you were the one that asked, and we kind of gave the answer, what happens if they build it and they don't come? So what they have to do, what they have to do is come back with a different plan that has to be approved. And we would address it at that time. The other address about gobbling things up and that you don't want to see every parcel in the town of Mount Airy being developed. Part of the 2013 master plan was to concentrate on the infill areas that we have, to concentrate on them, to fill them, or to have buildings or possible buildings on them. One of the things we have to be concerned about in a small town, and trust me, I've lived here almost 60 years myself. So each one of you people sitting out there, I didn't want you here. I'm sorry. When it was, you talk about small town. I would sled ride on Park Avenue when I was younger. But I began to realize and look, the things that we want, the services that we want, don't come because we don't have enough what they call rooftops. And also, commercial property helps with the tax base. And I don't want to see our town drowning in the tax base, which eventually, if you know the economics of what happens in small towns or in different areas around, you have to have a balance of residential and commercial in order for your community to survive. And the best way to get the physical, financial things that you need actually is we don't have a right mix of commercial, industrial, and residential. If you were trying to build an all residential area it would be very hard, and your taxes would be a lot higher than they are now. So we're not trying to just take everything, but we have a commitment to look at the landfill and to try to make some viable solutions for those. So go ahead, Ron.
Well, if I can go through some of the comments, loud and clear about Building I, that we need a more attractive
yes,
residential appearance on the backside of Building I, whether it is a stone wall that has security fencing above it, or it's some type of stone on the building facade side for it there. In terms of storm runoff, this will be its own storm drain system. It does not tie into the town storm drain system. We will be collecting it and having it flow directly into the pond. We'll go through a permitting process with CSX in order to get the access through there. Should not be an issue because it's not a main line for it. And it's been done before when the original development occurred. Architectural. I will say that I may have misspoke in thinking about 24-hour service. I'm trying to think where there was, and I'm not sure as if keypads work in storage facilities for 24 hours. We will answer that in the final site plan, but it may be that this facility is locked from 10 o'clock on. I don't know the operation of it, but that's a question that I have listed to make sure that I take back to the developer and the architect for it. We talked about the phasing of it, which will be a little more specific in the final site plan. Peak hour traffic, when fully developed, would be 25 trips in total, in and out.
A day?
No, the peak hour.
Peak hour, okay.
And we're required to use the ITE, Institute of Transportation Engineers manual for trip generation. That way, when you use that manual, it's consistent with whatever type of project you bring forward. There it could be less, but that way it's been accepted as kind of the standard for trip generation, unless you were to go survey multiple sites. And again, that trip generation is based on multiple sites where traffic engineers do survey traffic, and then they submit it to ITE, and that builds a database for them. Again, we talked about many of the comments about Building I there, and security cameras, are they part of a landscaping, making sure that Parkside Drive is not open, the gate is not open to all concerns at all there. Just emergency.
Absolutely. Try to get us as much clarification.
No, I've got that to you know, the final site plan will have more.
Hey, Ron, two more questions here for you. Maybe you can answer or have to bring it back at a later date. You mentioned that there was a market study done. Did they, during the market study, did they indicate or look at where the renters for the storage location would come from? Would they be more local? Would they be, you know what I mean, a percentage of local versus out of area?
I think by out of area, you look at the surrounding growth around
Mount Airy.
I mean, you have Harvest Ridge, 140 homes that were just completed.
Harvest Ridge, where's?
That's out Bill Moxley.
Bill Moxley.
Okay, because it preserves the Harvest.
So,
okay, gotcha.
70 some in Brittany Manor complete. So they look at maybe something Urbana is kind of in between some of that area there, but it's not, oh, we're going to bring people in from Frederick.
Or DC, yeah.
Or DC. I mean, they have to have something close, so they're not going to spend the money for it because people are not going to drive. I'm not even sure they'll drive from Newmarket here because there's units over there.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah.
Mount Airy and
It's
the
typically people who
surrounding.
live in our town
Okay.
who are moving out and they have
People
to
who
get
consider
rid of- they have
themselves
to
part of the
store
Mount
stuff.
Airy community, which is more than just the town itself.
It's
I
this-
live outside the town, but I consider myself Mount Airy community.
Would the developer be maybe open to adding street lights along Park Ridge, the backside of it maybe? Or lighting, some type of street lighting to illuminate
I think
the
there
road?
already is streetlights.
Not along the commercial side, unfortunately. Where the residential side starts, there's street lights, but not towards the 144 Park Ridge. Barney has, I drove by on the way home from work tonight to check it out. And then unfortunately, for some reason, there's no street lights along Park Ridge or Twin Ridge in the commercial section. And since pretty much this development is right at the corner of Park Ridge and 144, I would say streetlights might help out the crime and the other concerns back there. And we're talking maybe 3 streetlights total with Barney, if our guesstimate's right, on the distance between. And maybe this is a question for Barney to look at, and to see who owns, there's a stormwater management pond I noticed kind of buried back in the woods back there maybe, or something along Park Ridge. It might just be a drain.
Stormwater management for this facility, you see from
144. Okay.
144.
Okay, maybe it was just an outfall I saw there or something.
There are within the residential subdivision.
Okay.
That's on our neighbor's backyard, by the way. Yeah, that's in my backyard, and that's used by Pank as part of his outfall as well.
Okay, yeah, so maybe look at more of the stormwater management outfall and locations and the conditions of the existing ponds, make sure they're not.
Would you do me a favor and pull up Google Maps and type in 1106 Park Drive?
Hold on.
So we can see like a satellite view.
I don't have, gotta ask John that, sir. I don't, thank you, Ron, thank you, I'm just asking general questions.
Any address.
Yeah. I was gonna ask John to see if he could do that
I
beforehand.
feel like you're just like cramming something in where it doesn't need to go.
I'm not, yeah.
If it's in such demand, there's a lot of places to put it.
Well, I will note that there were a number of lots.
I will say the next thing, I'm sorry.
Wait,
if you're
excuse
gonna-
me, sir, we have to follow the protocol.
Yeah, I will also say, Ron, when I've been in Frederick, there's a cube, I'm not saying it's popular, but there's a U-Haul type storage going up by where the new Rural Farms is, and another Cube Smart up there too. So they're actually, but chances are those were already packed and sold or rented. So I'm not in favor or against, I'm just stating facts.
I think folks have to remember that when there's sites like this that are going to be developed or something's going to happen on them, you really want to make sure that you have the least impacted, the least impacting business, if it will, on the site. And if you're worried about traffic and, burglaries and stuff, I mean, from what I've seen, storage places are pretty low impact. And I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm just saying you could imagine what else could be there. And this is low traffic. My observations have been low crime. It's been, it's got a low profile. It's, I've said I've seen Cube Smarts that are bright, but we do have the town code with the lighting. So that does make a difference. And I guess if I look now and think about the storage space that I was referencing earlier, that is not a light monstrosity. So you just have to remember that when parcels are being occupied by businesses, sometimes there's a lesser evil, and this is a pretty lesser evil, and I'll throw that out there. But we just, we recommend this to the council. The council comes, could hear more input.
It doesn't go to
This
council.
doesn't go before me,
I'm saying
or the council.
I'm saying the
Master plan.
right, ultimately.
Isn't part of the master.
Right, ultimately,
This doesn't go to the council.
Yeah, this has already been there.
my point is that there, okay, thank you.
Some things go, but this
yeah.
is not.
Sorry, you said in your experience.
Sir, please come to this microphone. And again, you had a chance to speak.
Sorry, I was saying, sir, in your experience, you said they generally have low
Name and
crime.
address, please.
Steve O'Malley, 1106 Park Ridge Drive. What is that experience?
Well, living near one within about a football field for 20 years. I mean, I've never seen cop cars there. I've never seen, neighborhood alerts. I've never heard of any issues coming out of it.
Because
So,
I am a police officer.
okay, so
I'll
what's
tell
your
you-
experience?
I'll
How
tell
many
you for a
times have-
fact, they're about one a month in majority of.
Okay, is that the one in Mount Airy?
I work in Montgomery County.
So you don't know the one in Mount Airy?
No, I don't know.
So
because
there's
I
no
don't work in the
experience.
town of Mount Airy.
Yeah, so.
But I will
that's
say,
what-
most of them,
let's-
it's
yeah.
about one a month.
So we could probably pull the police records of the one in Mount Airy, but that's the one I would use probably.
Sure.
Instead of Montgomery.
I've got a note here to check with MAPD to see if
different
they do
locations.
have a lot of calls over there. But you do need to remember, when we check, as the chief would say, if people don't report it, that there's a crime there or something, it's not going to be on our record. So we just need to go by what has been reported to us
Right.
on it.
Okay, anything else, Ron?
Nothing other than to address the recommendation that I'd like to at this point in time.
Okay.
We would request that the bullet item, the clarification of ownership and maintenance of Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2, Stormwater Management Pond Number 4. We believe that that is settled and should not be an issue, particularly not an issue for Lot 7A. The Planning Commission approved with the consent of the Town Council in 1990 with their approval that that pond would be maintained by the town of Mount Airy. The preliminary plan signed in July 1991 had it being maintained by the town of Mount Airy. Lots 3 and 4 plats in August 1996, and in January 2002, again, consistent with the Planning Commission approval, had that being maintained by the town. The issue is, for us, not an issue of discussion. It's been decided by the Planning Commission. If the town staff wished to pursue it further, then that would be a legal matter that we would take up, but it is not part of the Lot 7A.
Okay, and where
Site plan.
exactly are you referring? Is this page 5 you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes,
You just kind of started talking
I'm
without
sorry.
pinpointing what you were saying.
yes.
Okay, and you're talking about number 2?
You're talking about the bullet point
Bullet under
on the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. The one bullet point,
Right.
the clarification.
You say you believe it's been resolved. Is there
Well,
a letter, is there any communication that shows that it's been resolved?
from our point of view, it's only the town staff unwilling to abide by the previous Planning Commission decisions, and this lot should not be held hostage to it. You know, thankfully, Mike Van Sant doesn't throw anything away, and we pull out the Planning Commission records, and it's in there noted with the consent of the town council.
Well,
goes
this
in-
recommendation only says, subject to the clarification of ownership and maintenance. So if you have proof that it's been clarified, then that doesn't
Well, we've
conflict with
clarified
this.
it. The
Well, I
town
didn't-
won't accept it.
We
If
haven't
not,
seen
we gotta
it.
go to, then,
Tom McCarron is looking into this as well, so please let him.
Okay, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, so I am looking into that, and there are several issues about who has the authority to impose on the town the obligation to maintain stormwater management ponds, number one. Number two, even if there is an underlying requirement to maintain it, at what point does that begin? I do not believe the stormwater management pond or any easements have ever been dedicated to the town. Now, I'm not completed with my analysis of this,
Okay.
so I haven't reached any conclusions, but I'm just saying that there are more questions than simply in 1990 with the Planning
Right,
Commission,
right.
eons ago,
Thank you.
approved some note the bottom of a plat.
So Roxanne, then we're not doing anything with this.
No, we're not going to remove that bullet, no.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, we're gonna wait to even.
Right.
Wait for our town attorney.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So my question for you, John, so we have some APFO things here that are pending.
Yeah, so the, of course, the fire rescue, they were concerned about sprinklers and all that. And again, Ron addressed some of that today with, it sounds like the three bigger buildings potentially going to be sprinklered. I think they were also concerned about fire hydrant location. Excuse me, fire hydrant location. The water went down the wrong side of my throat. So fire hydrant locations and the police, we were still waiting back from them, but
Okay.
currently they're adequate for the population in the town, but I don't think they're gonna have any issues with that because they're properly staffed for what the town code says for police.
But they're still, at this point, pending. We haven't gotten the okay. We think it's okay, but we haven't gotten it written.
Been written.
Correct. Okay. So the recommendation here is that we have approval of the concept plan of Lot 7A of Twin Ridge Professional Park, Section 2. I would like to,
Excuse me.
I would like to add, conditioned on looking into this building I and trying to get some resolve with that. I don't want to, I will give it conditional approval, but I'm not going to give it full blown until we find out about the stormwater and that we find out, the answer to some of these questions that the people have brought up tonight.
Right, so why can't we wait to even give the approval until we
We
have
can do
this
that too.
information?
But the reality of it is the process. Let's go back to concept means you approve, now we go into final. Final addresses the concerns brought forth in the concept plan here and not to be held hostage to it.
I'm not,
Well, yes, you are. I'm going to take different.
I don't think we are, Ron.
No, you're not.
Yes, because if the concept means here are the items that need to be addressed for the final to be approved. That's what a concept plan does.
I think we owe it to the people to bring this back so that they can see that this is going to happen, that they have addressed concerns, and I would like to see them addressed before we go to the next step. Is there any?
I agree with that.
Yeah,
My objections duly noted in the notes.
Thank you.
as elected representative and having no vote on the commission, I do agree with the chair lady on this, that there's a lot of unknowns still that need to be addressed. There's enough questions and enough, I would say, stuff that's still pending that we should wait, that the commission should wait for even to give concept approval or conditional.
And if someone could clarify the crime question, I was previously unaware of.
That's not for
Story.
me to clarify.
That's going to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, for Mount Airy statistics purposes, I guess.
And ask if they've had any report of any crimes at Twin Arch Mini Storage. That's all we can do.
Okay.
Yeah, can you do that, John, or is that?
I can look into that.
Okay, thank you. That saves me going through a couple people.
Real quick, and I do apologize again, it's Brian Koblenz, 1105. Just looking at property maps for Land Glide, which I use for work all the time for the government. My question to you, Ron, is I do understand what you guys want to do, the conceptual plan. However, I also see LDG also owns property off Rising Ridge right next to the railroad track, next to the current industries. And that's pretty close to the acreage you're looking at. I know it's a little bit smaller, but it's on Rising Ridge, which is already a commercial area. So you guys already own a property that's literally on Rising Ridge, very
We
industrial,
already have a site plan for that that's in process.
for something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something else, not for
And,
this.
and it's not him that owns it, he just represents.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
just looking at different plans saying, I understand you spent money on plans, but there is another property owned by the same property owners that's already in a commercial area.
And currently under review.
Okay.
With already different subdivisions.
Okay, I appreciate it. I just wanted to
Yeah, it hasn't been brought to us, so only the staff would know that. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that, at this time, then, we're just going to postpone the decision on this until our next meeting, and if you can get the answers to that, if you need to bring a representative, that's fine too. I know they're probably out of state, but some way that they can address these issues, I'd appreciate it. And I'd like to put this on the agenda for January. Do you think we can get it to the January?
I'll talk to the architect tomorrow too.
Okay.
Ron, can we make sure we do the elevations for I and H and make sure we try to do something that shows what's going to be handled there?
Yeah, the elevation as well, yes. Thank you. And I want to thank all the members, the public, and with the being courteous and respectful of everyone. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. The next thing we have is the introduction and discussion of annexation resolution. Believe me. Somewhat. The next is for the introduction and discussion of annexation resolution 2021-44. It's the Wrigler property. It's located along Prospect Road. And a possible recommendation to the town council. Do we have representatives for the ownership?
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
Members of the Commission. I'm Dave Bowersox, 24 North Court Street, Westminster, Maryland. I'm here on behalf of the applicants, the owners, the Wrigler family.
Could you move your microphone a little closer? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Before you tonight, as you've indicated for introduction and discussion, is the petition for annexation and zoning of the roughly 25-acre tract on Prospect Road owned by the Wrigler family. It is currently zoned agriculture in Frederick County. The western side of it is zoned in one of the residential classifications in Frederick County. It is on the east side bordered by an existing residential subdivision in Mount Airy, and to the north by some public open space owned by the town. We are asking that you annex this parcel. It is contiguous. I believe Mr. McCarron has indicated that for you. Pardon me. For you or the council. It's my understanding that the petition was introduced on September 13th of this year to the council for referral to the Planning Commission. Basically, what we've got here, if I can use these technical terms, is a very plain vanilla annexation. We're asking for annexation into the town, R2 zoning, which we believe is compatible. And the site, as you can see, is on the screen. Prospect Road is public road access. We will be preparing a road off of Prospect to serve the site. At this point, the idea, and because we're only talking annexation, there is no subdivision plat or anything further, is probably going to be a spine road going through the spine, if you will, of the Wrigler property from roughly southwest to northeast of the, I think your map is oriented north-south. The idea we have is for approximately 33 residential lots. It is within, I think, easily the density figures allowed for the R2 zone. So it's not like anyone's trying to maximize density or ignore the surrounding built environment. And one of the things I see in the staff recommendation is for some connection through the site to the public open space, the parkland in the back, which will provide an access that you don't have now, making that open space much more usable, accessible to the community in general, eliminate some potentially problematic access points through the existing subdivision to the east. So that is, in essence, what this is about. I'm sorry that it's not any more exciting than that.
So I have, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
So, Roxanne?
Go right ahead.
Chair? So I know, even though we're just talking about the annexation at this point, what you just stated about us getting to the park, to the, what's it called? Windy Ridge. I mean, this, if we wanted to recommend to the council, like, I would want to have that included in the recommendation, that it's contingent upon that road being open to the public to get to the park.
Well, I understand that. This is not a surprise. This has been discussed before we filed the petition. I will also let you know, I'm stealing some of Mr. McCarron's thunder. He has already provided me with a draft of a proposed resolution for annexation and a proposed annexation agreement in which those terms, at least to the extent we can do something about it without having more, are going to be included. So that may, again, I'm only suggesting that it may be easier for you to just utilize the
Yeah, I just wanted to put it out there.
Right.
work that's been laid already.
Okay, thank you.
It's floating, it's already out there. I'm going to ask for the public comments. Now, keep in mind, this is just for a request for an annexation. We have no idea what the houses are going to look like, how they're going to go, when they'll start. This is just to annex the property into the town of Mount Airy.
It does not include a self-storage proposal.
It doesn't? Okay. So the first person, and I'm assuming the people who live on Springgate are the ones that want to talk about this. So it was Katie. Is she still here? JD, I'm sorry.
I'm used to it. Before now, I've been here. My name is for a long time. I'm JD Kelly. I live on 306 Springgate Court. I will speak into the microphone. Okay. I've been hearing a lot of rumors about what's been happening up here for quite some time. I'm mostly concerned, and I can mirror about the people that just left, about the small town feels, and hearing about a lot of houses going up that's backing into the Springgate Court. I moved to Mount Airy to get the small town. And when I hear about that happening, that having 35 houses up on that field where I watch the sunset every day, breaks my heart. And to know that that's gonna happen really hurts. And having all the homes, to possibly moving home and the road going through, and then having heavy traffic going through possibly. And I know what the end all be all is gonna end up being once that ends up happening. I know that we can't, there's really no concept of it, because this is just the question of annexing. I'm afraid that that small town feel is gonna go away. And that's the reason my husband moved away. We moved away from minutes from the city, is to get that small town feel. And now I'm afraid that it's gonna go away. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly? 308? Okay. Ken?
Ken Palmer, 308 Springgate Court, Mount Airy. I know this is just about the annexation, but we can see past that. We know that's going to get developed. We know that's going to happen. And the geography here, what JD was just talking about, I don't know how many of you have been out to that property, the property lines there. That's a steep hill. We're going to have a steep fishbowl effect of 15 houses down both sides, and even the Cindy Lane side is that bad. The counter to that, if we don't annex it, it's going to stay county, and they'll put 6 houses up there. I don't think it'll have the same impact. I don't think I have to worry about as much light pollution. I don't think I have to worry about the erosion. I don't have to worry about all the things that go with 35 houses up on a ridge that I'm looking right up at every day from my backyard. So even though this is about the annexation, that's the real impact we got to talk about. I know if we do choose to annex it, we'll end up coming back here and talking about what the development's going to look like. It's going to look like 35 houses.
Okay.
33.
Or 35, 33. So, Mr. Wheeler, Charles Wheeler? Wheelock, sorry.
Charles Wheelock, 402 Springgate Court, and my property backs right up to the Ziegler property, and
Wrigler.
whatever the name is, and I've lived there for 24 years, and you know, you said you lived here 60 years, and I've been there 24 years with that property behind me with nothing, and when I sit out on my back deck, I can watch the birds, the deer, the hawks, whatever, okay? And now we're talking about 33 houses, and my property goes up like this in the back, and I'm gonna have a house sitting right behind my house with the lights and people or whatever. I oppose this 100%. I oppose it. I don't like it. I don't like a lot of the stuff that's going on in this town. I mean, you know, it's just getting to be ridiculous. You know, you just want more money, okay? You want more tax money. Taxes just got raised. It's all about money in this town, and we're getting sick of it. I think you ought to just have them go back to Frederick County and let them put the 6 houses up there, and we'd be done with it.
Okay.
Or the 5 houses, or whatever it's gonna be.
I don't see anyone else here specifically. Okay. There is one, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Sean Kelly. I'm at 306 Springgate Court. We back up right on the eastern edge of the site there. You know, I'm trying not to repeat what's been said, but there are, you know, it strikes me, we're all saying here, well, this is just for annexation, and there's no plan here for that. We actually expect, I don't think I'm the only one, we expected to see some kind of site plan. How can we approve or not approve annexation for a site that we all know, they're gonna have 33 homes there. Well, where are they gonna be? Where are they gonna sit near our properties? What's the runoff plan? We're all, 100% of us will be downhill from every single home that's on that site. I believe that's the highest point in Mount Airy. So we're all gonna be downhill. What is that plan for the runoff? So, of course, all 15, 16 of us along that site, we don't wanna butt to a house in the back, you know? We see open space. That's why we bought that house for that price. It was for the open space back there. And personally, I would love access to that park. I wanna see some better trails back there, some better activity. There's some awesome space not being used back there, but not at the price of cramming 33 houses back there. You know, let's see the forest for the trees. Thank you.
I understand your frustration with the annexation and not being able to see anything. It's part of the procedure that honestly I'm trying to figure out what the best practice is for that. I would like the developer to come and talk to you about that. Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, Todd Rosenfeld, 5561 Cindy Court. I have a lot of concerns about this. You know, I think, many of us who live around that area bought our properties because of the way it is. The question is really, who is this going to benefit? You know, between decreased porosity, so lots of runoff from there, light pollution, I'm an astronomer. And I have a lot of concerns about the development that was talked about earlier, plus the development of this. I'm the guy that has the observatory on his property, if you're wondering. Yeah. So we've done, like recently, in fact, we did a community star party. So increased light pollution, it's really not a benefit. The wildlife. So it just, again, it seems to me like there are more drawbacks than pluses to actual development of this. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Evening. Name's Joanna Krolowitz. Live at 5515 North Annapolis Drive, which North Annapolis Drive goes up and around where Sydney goes forks off. All right. So we're in the valley. So my biggest concern is we're all on well water. So I understand that they perked that site. My biggest thing is you're putting how many houses on there and what well are you tapping into?
That'll be all supplied by the city water. Current wells are already in production.
All right, and also I'm a police officer and I've seen people on Prospect Road, it's 35, right? Once you pass Spring Ridge. And I know people go 50 and they go 50 over that hill. Right where that site is, that is a blind hill. So you want to put 34 houses in there, you're going to expect a lot of accidents because people don't slow down there, or you need to put a light. And I already see that you put stop signs in just now down in Twin Ridge. You're adding stop signs. I don't know why that is. Because you're bringing more people into this area? That's not what people want here, or at least maybe you don't know, but we're voicing our concern now about it, okay? And then on top of it, does Frederick County know that you're trying to take?
We're not trying to take it.
Annex
The
or?
developer, I'm sure they do. The developer has requested it. The owner of the property, I'm sorry, has requested the annexation.
And this property currently in our master plan is part of our actual growth boundaries of the town of Mount Airy. There's multiple parcels around the town that are considered in our ultimate growth boundary limits.
Why does the town of Mount Airy need to continue to grow? You got Chick-fil-A, you're gonna have more than enough people coming in and paying you money.
I didn't make the plan. I'm just saying,
I get that,
you should go voice your concerns.
Contradicting, or I'm just, you want money, Chick-fil-A is gonna bring you money, and honestly, I had no problem driving 20 minutes to Frederick to go get Chick-fil-A. My last thing is, you wanna talk about public access to that back park right there? East-West Park. At the bottom of the hill, right next to the Legion, that is a public access. You guys paved it, you put that brand new pond in there, beautiful. Go park down there. People want to get back to that site, you can walk around and you park down there.
They don't want to spend the money.
And again, that's going through the town of Mount Airy.
Well, that's the truth.
You have to come to the, okay.
So those are my biggest things. Well water, erosion. Again, I'm at the very bottom. Flooding is bad when we get big storms. So, and then just construction in general. Once construction's done, you have 34 houses in there. Again, the blind hill. But what about construction? Dump trucks coming in and out. You're gonna have to figure something there, again, because there's just gonna be accidents or you're gonna cause traffic. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitlock, wait a minute,
Billy Dove, I live at 5567 Cindy Court at the end. And I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but that is the high ground. We get a lot of runoff as it is already. And the town has access to the park. I see no benefit to the town annexing that property to sell their soul to all these people on both sides, me included, just for a top access to the park. You have an access that's not great off West Ridge, and you got the one by the Legion. You have access to the park. Why would you want to impact all the residents, county and city? I'm in the county, I'm not in the town. If you let Frederick County do it, they're going to handle it, and you probably won't have one complaint from one person in this room. Frederick County is going to limit. We all move there. The Wriglers, I don't know them. They're great neighbors. Have no problem with them, right? They're farmers. Now you want to do that? You know, it's bad access. I see no benefit except for a top access to a park that you already have access to. So you have more than one access to it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Let Mr. Wheelock go, and then you can go.
Charles Wheelock, 402 Springgate Court. Now, I just, about this access to the park, and I know everybody's talking about it, but there is other ways to get to this park, okay? I mean, I know there's wetlands in the bottom, and it's gonna cost a lot of money to get to the top of the park. But, you need to work on some bills with the state or whoever you need to work with to try to get the money to get this access instead of trying to bring it up through the easy way that you guys can let's put 33 houses and affect the rest of the neighborhoods around it. It doesn't make sense that you would do that. I just oppose this, that's all.
Okay. Tim? We have the Frederick County planner here, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring to the Planning Commission's attention and the public that there has been a subdivision plan submitted in the county on this property. It's going through the review stage, it's not gone to Planning Commission or approval, but the landowner has submitted a 4-lot subdivision plan for this particular property.
When
was that done?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, it's 4 lots?
Yes,
not
4 lots. I
6?
have the plats here if you'd like to see.
Okay.
That's all right.
So four lots, meaning 4 houses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
3 lots and then a remainder lot.
So at the same time that they're applying for annexation, they're hedging their bets, is that?
Probably, I'd assume that, yes. And then the other thing, just, this process, the county does have to grant express approval for the zoning change, because the zoning change is substantially different than the county zoning of agriculture, and the lot yield is much more intense. So if the town council approves the annexation, it would have to be presented to the county council for their express approval.
Right.
If the council does not grant that, then I believe there's a 5-year or 7-year wait for development to happen. But if they grant the express approval, they can move ahead with, consistent with your laws and regulations for development.
Right.
No, it's 5 years in Carroll County. I'm not
5,
sure
okay.
about Frederick. But
Yeah,
It's state
5.
law.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Bowers, sorry. Does anybody, before I start asking questions, go ahead, Chair.
I'm just listening. I'm listening.
So I have a question, Mr. Bowers. So if the Wrigler family or trust or whatever is willing to develop 4 lots if they stay in the county, then why does it need to be 33 if they're annexed into Mount Airy?
They may not be willing to develop 4 in the county. I think they wanted to do some examination of what their options could be.
Okay, but they submitted a subdivision plan, right? And that would.
I don't believe he said it's been acted on. I don't think they've pursued it.
I'm sorry.
It was
Get close to your mic.
It was submitted initially. Currently, they aren't moving through the process. It hasn't come back in for presentation to their planning commission.
Okay.
So they submitted.
They submitted it, but they haven't.
Subdivision
But they haven't withdrawn it.
No, but
It's
they
in
don't have
limbo
to.
for now.
Right. They don't have to,
That's it.
but okay. So it's just sort of
Normal
Limbo.
cycle.
okay.
And then if, I see, and then, so if, what was the 5-year? So if they don't act on it, they can't act on it for 5 years in Frederick County, correct?
What Mr. Goodfellow was referring to, and Mr. McCarron can chime in if I miss something, but as a matter of state law, when you're asking for an annexation with zoning to a substantially different zoning category than it comes from, and this one is zoned agriculture in the, I believe, in Frederick County. One thing I will tell you, as we understand it, is in around 2010, when you were looking at including this property in the community growth area in the 2013 plan.
Yes.
That's when it was zoned agriculture. The thought being at the time that it would discourage someone from trying to develop it residentially in the town if it was going to be part of your growth area.
Right.
So the 5-year issue is if the Frederick County Commissioners consent to a immediate zoning under city or town code as requested, it can be immediately zoned upon annexation. If they do not, then there is a 5-year period that the new zoning will not be affected in the town as applied to that property. Did I miss anything?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Called the waiver.
Right.
So I have a
Thank you.
question, probably for you. So if that were to happen, if Frederick County were to deny it, but it would already be annexed, right? No, okay, so then they could go back to
The
the,
documents,
Okay.
the way they're drafted, I have
it's like
drafted it as
contingent
a
or whatever.
condition.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
I will say that much of this policy or discussion had to have occurred as part of your last comprehensive planning cycle in 2013. Some of you may remember it. That it would not make sense for Frederick County to go along with your plan for municipal growth area if they weren't also contemplating the appropriate use of the land within the planning cycle contemplated by your plan.
Right.
Was residential growth in town.
It's just a theoretical discussion.
No, well, I'm just trying to give you
Right. No, we
reasoning,
know.
which hasn't been provided previously.
Thank you. Okay.
JD Kelly, 306 Spring Court. So in light of what he said with the 5 houses, is there a chance for compromise with the limited amount of houses if we do annex it in with putting less houses up there instead of so many, still having annexed to the road? If we do have just the 5 houses, still have the annex to the road to the park, and then everybody's happy?
They're asking for R2 zoning, so I don't think we could, that's
You don't think we could what?
we couldn't limit it to just 5 houses.
We can limit it to 5, but we can ask them to do.
Once we
fewer.
can get some sense of what we can do with the layout on the property in real life,
Yeah.
that could be an open discussion, but it's months and maybe years away.
Well, because what you were talking about, the fact that topography, there's going to be a lot of, in my opinion, they're just not going to leave it like that. There's going to be some major dirt moved. I don't think it's going to stay on the top.
I presume.
Okay.
Again, that's,
Again, it's 2 lots per acre in R2.
Okay.
Again, there's also APFO requirements and all those
Yeah,
things.
there's a lot of things we have to get through.
That are gonna limit the amount of houses they can put on the parcel. So, people say 35, that's not set in stone. That'll be part of, as Mr. Bowersox was saying, it's gonna be part of the review process if it does get annexed and then a site development plan comes in.
And you have to remember, when it's annexed in, we have some control over it.
you have complete control over it.
I mean, yeah, we have complete control over it. If you don't annex it, you don't have any control. And it can be, I mean, that was an interesting number that Tim provided. But it could be more.
Well, it's less impactful potentially.
It's currently zoned agricultural, so I don't think they're limited if they're in the county.
Yeah, they're limited.
They're
because of the
R2,
agriculture.
they're currently zoned agriculture.
They could change that too.
They could, particularly if it
It'd be harder.
changes character from your community growth area all of a sudden, because I don't mean this critically, it's an observation of the frustration of your own master plan calling for residential growth on public water and sewer, a 25-acre parcel with 5, 4, 6 lots is, I mean, your planners, it's a waste of land. So it could change the zoning from ag to something else if it's not annexed. That would be a substantial change, in my view, in the character of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I was pointing out the fact that if something like that happened, we have zero control.
Exactly.
And there's also a larger impact on the wells if it gets rezoned to conservation.
All right.
Or if it gets rezoned to R40 in Frederick County.
The most sensitive development in terms of protection of existing well yields and water quality would be annexed and developed with public water and sewer in the town. You have sealed systems. You don't have drawdown on the neighborhood wells. You don't have to worry about the contamination from septic fields. Someone's mentioned wetlands in some area. You don't have to deal with any of that. So, again, I'd like to mention there's been a number of things.
Wait a minute, Mr. Bowersox, go ahead. I have some gentleman here waiting to make a comment.
Sean Kelly, 306 Springgate Court. I keep coming back to, there's no plan there. And I think I'm asking you guys, what's the plan? And I'm asking you guys to not consider this until there's a plan. I don't think I'm alone there. I'm really disappointed to come to this meeting and see a blank space still there. And how can we consider annexation? Because once you go down that road, we all know what's going to happen. So what's the plan, and why are we even considering annexation without a plan? And I don't think I'm alone there. So.
I just have to answer it this way. That's the process that we work under. That's a state code. That's what we have to work under.
You have to work under that?
Under the state code, absolutely. The Planning Commission is designed through what's called a Land Use Act for the state of Maryland. We are part of Mount Airy, and yes, we were appointed, but our,
it's the Maryland Land Use Act.
Yeah, it's just the Maryland Land Use Act.
State law.
Well, it's the Local Government Act.
Yeah.
Of the Maryland.
Local
Yeah.
government articles. So basically what state law says is when a municipality receives a petition, which is the legal term for a request for an annexation, it lays forth a procedure that we must by state law follow that includes an introduction of a resolution, a referral to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission takes public comment, reviews it, makes a recommendation to the Town Council. Town Council then actually sends it out for public comment to Frederick County, state planning, etc. Has to schedule a public hearing, and then ultimately votes on it. So the process is what it is because the state code requires us to follow it.
And the short of it is we can't plan on land that we don't own, right? Because we can't.
It's not in our jurisdiction.
He can't set a development plan. Like somebody has to spend money to figure out, all what they would do, and we don't own it, so they can't present it to us because it would be like, that's really the short of it.
It sounds like the owners are looking at plenty of money. So it sounds like the owners are looking at plenty of money in this deal. So that's what. Shame on us for the blind leading the blind. We don't see a plan. So
I'm going to
oppose it. How about that?
Okay.
I'll try to provide a pragmatic response to some of those concerns. It's probably not going to be satisfactory to everyone in here, but there is the plan review process that a couple of you have mentioned. The state's going to have a chance to take a look at this, various state agencies. Frederick County's going to take a look at this. You all locally are only now starting to examine it. Whatever the plan is for this property is going to be dependent largely on the feedback you get during this response period. I can't, as much as I'd like to satisfy these people, I can't make up a plan. I can't.
Yes, sir.
Billy Dove, 5567 Cindy Court. So obviously you don't know the property. There is no wetland there. That's on top of the hill. And the wetlands are down the bottom. And I don't buy the excuse that if we don't annex it, we don't have any control over it. I'll take my bet with Frederick County doing the right thing and only getting 3 or 4 homes on that property. Frederick County is not going to let a storage unit or anything on there. Come on. We know what they're going to allow. You got the planner right here. You can see what goes on in Frederick County. They're not going to let them touch the buffer of woods on the left. The only development land you got is in the center on the right. Now, I happen to live outside, but the folks on the right, they're going to be looking right down on them. They're going to be in a fishbowl. Their privacy that they had is gone. Put 4 homes over there, you won't see a peep from none of us. Let Frederick County handle it.
I would just like to clarify, on the county's master plan, the property is shown for low-density residential. It is within the Mount Airy Community Growth Area on our plan. So the county has indicated this as appropriate for future residential use. Even though the agricultural zoning exists today, the property owner could request rezoning tomorrow in Frederick County. It's unclear, obviously, how the council would rule on that, but it has been shown in our plans for growth, residential growth, for a long time, 20 years.
And what would the density be?
It's like 1 to 3 units per acre. It is shown as low-density residential.
That's actually more than R2.
That's more than R2,
1
yeah.
to 3, because R2 is 2 per acre.
Also, this designation on our master plan does anticipate annexation because it's shown as low-density residential with planned water and sewer, public water and sewer.
Which would have to be in Mount Airy.
Right.
Right.
Right. But that wouldn't stop the property owner from requesting rezoning in the county, but then they would have to develop on well and
Oh, right, because they wouldn't have, see,
Right.
that's the thing, is being annexed into Mount Airy, they have Mount Airy
Right.
water and sewer. And
Tim,
not wells.
sorry.
Just wanted to make a comment again, having to do, thanks very much, Tim, with what Tom was explaining about the process. So, and actually also Mr. Bowersox. So yes, right now it's blank because, as Tom explained, that's the process through the state code. But as Mr. Bowersox said, this is a very long and involved process, and you all here right now are a part of that process and will continue to be part of that process if this property is annexed. So don't think that that's not true. And I want to say that, we know a little bit because there has been a sort of an idea of what wants to be done. Everybody keeps talking about 33 houses. But I can tell you that, at least as a commissioner, if I'm looking at this, if this land property gets annexed, I would be critical about the number of houses and where the houses go. And I certainly don't rubber stamp anything that comes before this commission. So I think that if it gets annexed, that you all just keep showing up and paying attention to everything. And that is the best way. And as Mr. Goodfellow behind you just said, there aren't any guarantees if it stays in the county, except that if it is developed, it will be on sewer, not sewer, septic and well, which could be more negative than if you're in the town and you're in water and sewer, so.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question of Tim Goodfellow?
Yes.
Sorry, Tim. You picked the wrong night to show up to one of our meetings.
I'm glad you're here.
Yes, glad. Question, there are exceptions to what can be built on agricultural. Besides residential, there are other, I want to say, like religious organizations and some other uses that could be a much more intensive use or a high use than residential on agricultural.
Leading questions?
Not leading, I think, I just want to verify if I'm understanding the usage right. It's just not agricultural or 4 houses. They could request something else there.
That's correct. Our agricultural zone, because the majority of Frederick County is zoned agricultural, we're a huge county, and we have many, many different land uses that are permitted in our agricultural zoning district. So yes, if this property would develop under our agricultural zone, there's 55 different uses they could seek to establish on this property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any other comments before we make, yes, sir? Oh, I didn't see who that was. Get back down now.
Larry Hushauer, the mayor, 501 West Ridge Drive. What's really important as we go through this process is to realize that there are existing residents, especially along Springgate. The fact that we mentioned a number of houses means that somebody out there has thought about this. And what we need to realize is that the topography on Springgate especially is almost straight uphill. You got about a 20-foot rise, and if you get houses that are right behind that area, then you're basically blocking everything from about 2 p.m. through Sunset. We need to just make sure that we take care of the existing residents, and if that means losing a few houses as we go through this process, then lose a few houses and protect the existing residents. So that's what I'll be saying at the table. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
I actually agree with the mayor. We have to go through this process. And I know it's arduous, and I know that you all are not not that you're not appreciative, but it's going to be a long process. And like Madam Dickinson said, that we need you to be here through the process. Okay? I think we need to make a decision. We're just recommending this to the town council. The council has to make the decision. We don't make the decision. So seeing that, I would like to recommend that we send this to the council for consideration for annexation.
You're going to have to restate that. You didn't make a recommendation.
I move that we send a favorable recommendation to the town council for the annexation of the Wrigler property.
Better.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. I'd like to I'd like to control the situation. I'd like to increase our odds of being able to control the situation. It goes to the town council. This is merely a recommendation.
You come sit over my back porch, okay?
I'm very,
Sir, excuse me.
I'm very concerned of what's going on in there, and we are going to watch it, but we have to make sure that we control it as best we can. And just because it's an empty field today doesn't mean it's going to be an empty field tomorrow. It's just it's not the way it works. So I second it. I second it because I'd like to control it. I'd like to have more control of the situation.
It's been moved and seconded that we send a favorable recommendation for annexation to the town council. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? There's one opposed. Did you get that?
What of the condition about access? Do you guys want that as a condition of your recommendation?
I'm sorry, yes.
Right.
Should we redo the motion then? Okay.
Strike
We're striking that motion. I'm sorry, this is Robert's Rules of Order. So I move that we send a favorable recommendation to annex the Wrigler property to town council along with access and changing of the zoning to R2.
And I second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? We have one opposition and four.
I still like to show your motion.
It doesn't have enough flexibility for me.
Yeah, but Leslie, what's that?
Hold on.
How would you say it?
Well, I have greater concerns. On my part-time FCPS bus routes, I go by that property multiple times a day, okay? And even at its broadest, which is where it sits adjacent to Prospect, given the slope of that and given the speed with which people drive, okay? And even in wintertime, when the leaves are off the trees, the fewer homes that are newly constructed on that barren piece of property, the better, because you are adding that additional transportation volume.
I agree with you, Bill.
Okay? The other things we've talked about are not in the best interest of the existing residents, and this and some of those same factors will not be in the best interest of additional residents. I don't see this as a win-win for the town, for the existing residents, for people who will build there. I just do not see it. And we do have another access to Windy Ridge Park.
But aren't you concerned?
I'm not coming up with any rationale that I can grab hold of to say, this is a good idea for all concerned.
Well, I too don't support 33 homes up there on that hill either, but I will say though, that at least we would have control of it, over it, because I mean, you have to increase your odds of being able to protect, I mean, part of protecting these residents is to be able to control it, what's going on there. We have zero control right now, zero. We have zero.
If I felt we had some lobbying control, either with our council or with Frederick County Planning, to come up with a solution that was fewer lots and fewer.
That sounds fantastic. But we can't, but how are we gonna do that with no?
We have to get it to the point where we can say we want the fewer lots. We've got to get it past us to the town council, so that.
For the purpose of our recommendation to council, I would support it.
That's my purpose.
But
It's
only.
the second. It's control. It's control. It's to be able to control it.
Well, it's been moved and seconded and voted on. So.
Well, I think you could
we can
strike it and
we can
do it again.
we can.
But that's, I mean, that's if that is what motivated you to vote the way you did.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I mean,
that's what I'll support.
I want to be able.
Let me ask you if you think it was clear, the contingency part about
I don't think
the road has to go through to the park.
I think I got it, and that is that you would recommend approval only with the condition that, as indicated in the current draft, the developer would have to design, construct, and provide access to Windy Ridge Park to the public.
Right.
Yes.
And what's also clear and doesn't have to be part of this recommendation is that we, the planning commission, when it comes before us, can have all kinds of, we can limit and,
That's what I intend to do.
It doesn't have to be 35.
No.
It could be 4. If
And
comes before us.
it might not even be that many when you start looking at that property.
Right, and the topography and stuff.
Right.
So,
Right now, we have no say.
So we're good.
Still, your concerns about the site distance, so they're gonna have to do a site distance analysis of the subdivision. They'll probably be bringing the entrance at the top of the hill, so that exiting that property, you'll be able to see left and right, so you won't be pulling out into traffic. But that's all part of the site development plan.
All of the trees in the front of that property.
That's probably what will occur.
I've looked at it for several weeks now.
I understand that, but
That's
I'm
the
saying
only
that's
way.
part of the site development process. That'll be,
Regardless of how few homes or how many, you consider putting there.
and that'll be part of the site development process, which will have to be analyzed to make sure that they can make the site distance.
But the fewer the better.
Agree.
Okay. Yes, sir. We're done.
Billy Dove, 5567 Cindy Court. Again, everything seems to hinge around access to the park. That's what's driving this whole thing. Have any of y'all talked to the people that have used the park? I see them every day walking behind my house. People have access to the park. They love the park how it is. Everybody there's no leash law back there if you ever look, and they love that. Dogs run wild. They don't do anything, but everything is driving around access to the park.
Yeah, I think the town, more than the people who just live right there, want access to the park.
And
not everyone can travel that, there's people with disabilities, there's, young children, not everybody can.
Well, excuse me, I'm sorry, we're out of control a little bit here. We're hearing what you said. We have made a decision. It has to go to the town council and then and you have to stay active in this decision.
So that's my next question. First of all, I'd like to thank the town for at least letting us know. I got a letter in the mail saying it impacts us. Appreciate that. Because us non-town residents sometimes get booted to the side. So I definitely want to, there's more people from our neighborhood. For whatever reason, they appoint me the spokesperson for the neighborhood. So I'm there.
So
keep us involved.
yes, and keep looking at our website to see when things are going to happen with this annexation.
I'd say
That's
look
the
at
best way for you
the
to.
messenger, but the messenger's done, right?
Yes,
We gotta get a
unfortunately
new
it is.
paper. We gotta get something, but that's
Okay,
our issue.
and again, we just recommended, it's the town council that makes the actual decision.
And there will be other hearings along
Absolutely.
along that line.
So this probably won't, I don't know when it will come to the town council, because our meeting's so close. So they might hear it in January, they might hear it in February, but just keep looking at the thing. And you can always call town hall and ask when it's on the agenda.
And I think our concern too is, you guys have moved it, but when it gets to the final vote, the final say, so who's to say you're going to be on the board again? What's the next group of folks planning?
Well, we do have a solution to that when we get into what's the next step, we do have a solution to keep whatever our decision is, that decision, so that it won't be affected by other people.
Has the town considered purchasing that property?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, so some people have been in town, probably have a little more history of how Windy Ridge got bought, and why it got bought. I'm one that knows about that. So same type thing. So I'm just, again, you won't have any complaints if the town buys it and creates it. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to appreciate all of your to and consideration for being here this evening. Just keep yourself, talk to Barry. He'll know everything that's going to happen. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Barris.
Moving on.
Well, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Barasox. Get better, okay?
Okay.
Get better.
Yeah.
Was there?
Yeah, it was voting.
I don't know.
No, it went.
I don't know. He texted me. He called him.
It was like we're
I
gonna
don't
vote
know.
again.
I don't know.
I mean, if money was no
It still went through.
I really thought the council would do it. Why wouldn't we buy it?
I think they tried to buy it, and it's
If you own
so
it,
outrageous.
if you own it first, then you have a better chance of getting it. We did.
Oh, can we afford it?
Just let it go. Okay. Okay.
Moving on. We have our first rezoning request. It's for Lot 73, Back Acres Circle. The request is to go from R2 residential to industrial. Ron, are you representing?
It's Ron's turn again.
Huh?
Thank you, Ron Thompson, Van Mar Associates. I submitted the rezoning request on the behalf of whatever entity under Dock Full it was. Lot 73 was kind of the orphan lot of the Brittany Manor residential subdivision. It's 2.3 acres, approximately 2.3 acres. It is separate from the housing development, completely separated by open space, and is across the street from Lot 15 and near the Twin Arch Business Park. I've got too many going on here. The rest of the industrial development. It's best suited as an industrial lot. On the one side, county side there, is residential, but of course under residential, an industrial lot has to have a 50-foot increased setback for any type of development. And it does sit down lower than the adjoining land to the kind of south there, the residential county-owned land. So it's sort of always been thought of as would be an industrial lot. It initially had something like 8 smaller residential lots on it, but when we went through the process of Brittany Manor and allowable lots and density, we weren't able to continue with 80-some lots. So that's how we ended up with 73.
Ron, where's the retention pond in that drawing?
Hi,
It
Tim.
is right,
Right there. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
all of this area in here is all open space.
Right. That's topographically challenging too, back there.
And reached out by the landowner here. He was concerned. It seemed like there might have been some excavating and that there was some, the slope of this
Yeah,
had
it's
been
steep.
increased adjoining his property. I did go out and speak with him and let him know that it's a 2-to-1 and that's what's legitimate. His only concern is fencing to make sure that debris and stuff doesn't get on his property, and also a Class A screening, and I told him that that would be part of the site development plan, and, appeased him.
Does anybody have any other questions or concerns?
I remember when this came up last time, there were a few people, and I think,
Not this lot.
yeah, it was. Yeah, because this is changing that little piece to industrial because it's about what's going to be built, and there was a question about whether the people.
Damon Road possibly.
Yeah,
This is our first request.
So
But
this-
initially through our work session.
Maybe
Oh,
that's what it was.
okay.
Yeah,
It
and
wasn't
so
at the planning
there was just the concern about what they'd be able to see.
It's pretty far.
And that's kind of what we were discussing. I felt like there was some information we were going to get.
On a hill there, you're
Yeah,
going up.
but anyway, that'll be dealt with, right, in the site plan or
During the site
whatever.
development
So,
That stretch between that lot and Gale's Lane is a hill, so you
yeah,
won't
I
see-
just remember there was
We'll
like
see
some
it, but it's
discussion about what.
pretty far away. Like it's,
They might
I mean, because there's a property, you can also see what's diagonal to that in the bring the mouse down, like left, right there. You can see all that too. It's business.
Right.
So,
It is an industrial.
yeah. So, I mean, those people are on the hill. You
Yeah.
can see everything.
I don't know, this is probably what, 1,500 feet or more?
Yeah,
probably between
it's-
there.
It's,
I don't know exactly.
it's a good distance,
Anyway.
but you can see.
And again, so during the site plan process, we'll be making sure that they're providing additional, because again, this is against residential. This is R zoned. So
Right.
there'll be increased density and not density, but screening along
Right.
this side of the property as well.
Yeah, big retention.
I gave it a favorable recommendation in my staff report. And again, this
Yes,
is the
you
first-
did.
This is the first item that request for our master plan.
Awesome. For 2023, good. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'm looking for my-
I'll make a motion.
Okay. It's on the second page.
I would move that we support the staff recommendation, and we recommend a zoning change, or we allow zoning change from R2 residential to I industrial for lot 73.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we recommend a favorable recommendation to redesignate lot 73 to industrial from the current zoning of R2. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Martina.
So, and the next items are the reports and other businesses and future items. We have the council liaison report.
I would just say, read the report for the workings of the council. I would like to add one thing to the report that happened last week. The town council and the county commissioners for Carroll County did meet here at Town Hall regarding usage of Harrison LaShire property. And it was agreed upon that the county will more than likely request annexation into the town for Harrison LaShire. We're just working out the details now and see. Hopefully, within a couple weeks, it'll be on Carroll County Commissioner's agenda to request it.
Were there any members of the public here? It was open to the public,
It
was
was
it
open to
not?
the public, but I don't believe, about five people.
It wasn't
It wasn't
promoted
public
well.
discussion, but the public was allowed to attend.
Well, that wasn't communicated.
There was a couple people, and it was county commissioners that came in and listened. They said, well, you changed our minds, basically, is what they said.
But I did,
So,
Roxanne, I did want to mention to the council members that I did, or commission members, that I did put this on your desk area. It's about a planning commission.
Thank you.
Work session that'll be at Salisbury, but it is virtual.
Right.
So if you want to, I would register. I'm gonna register. I think Carl's already registered.
yeah.
I think it's free, so.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good way to,
What date's it on?
This is a
it's
great
on
overview.
December 9th.
Great overview.
There was an email I got this morning from Susan with the Maryland Department of Planning.
Okay, so in our next master plan work session is actually December the 9th at 6 o'clock.
Correct.
We'll go, you have the zoning administrator report there?
Yep.
The next one.
5:30
Oh,
5:30 to 8:30.
we might have to look at that.
Well, so then we could postpone the work session for this coming month. I mean, currently, we're sort of caught up with a lot of the master plan items. It's really going through and looking at all the different requests, which we're bringing to you in groups. Ultimately, I don't know if there's anything pressing with the master plan currently. I think everything, I mean, we still need to do something with the housing element, but I've reached out to the Maryland Department of Planning, and they're doing some researching right now, and hopefully have something to present to us beginning of next year.
I think it would be worth it for us to postpone to attend this.
If you could come back to us with 2 or 3 potential dates and we just, vote which ones.
For December, you're saying?
Well, and then we also have, we were gonna discuss a possible meeting, right, in December?
Possibly, and I think Ron is still sitting here because he wants to talk about what he brought up initially. That's why he hasn't left yet.
I know, that's why.
And again, I want some clarification on the same process as well. And I don't know, when we move into that,
I think you're adding one back and forth to that.
let's discuss that real quick, because I want to figure out exactly what is the process.
Well, we gotta look at the ordinance.
This is for the MXU, MXD, the process. And my one.
Excuse me.
an
The chair is putting in a 5-minute break.
Okay. Thanks, Ron.
Oh, you watch too.
Yeah, good call.
Get it to the planning commission members first. It's 9:30.
I know,
No worries.
but maybe it's 5 somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. You can go downstairs.
No, I don't need to. I'll just stretch your
Okay, CMC, we're about ready to go back live again.
Yeah.
Last year.
All right, so Ron, so let's look
I've
at,
provided you with a handout on
Yep.
page 3, which is item E, talks about, I believe, the process as I best understand it here, in that there is a charrette by the town planning commission, then there is a separate public hearing that takes.
That's where I want to question. So the charrette, does that have to be held by the town? Shouldn't it, I feel like it should be held by the developer for them to advertise, for them to.
That the planning commission shall
hold at least one charrette
Okay.
and public meeting.
And as I read it, the charrette is like a workshop that is basically between the planning commission, the planning staff or town staff, and the developer to discuss. You set a time
My
for,
understanding of a charrette.
and then you set the time for a public hearing, which requires a 30-day notice in which all of the adjacent property owners are notified, the sign is put out, and so forth, for there to be a public hearing. That same process, if I'm understanding this correctly, is then followed after the public hearing by the planning commission. Then you have a joint one. Now, whether or not you can hold a joint charrette before the public hearing of the planning commission, I don't know, but, and then that's followed by a 30-day notice of the town council to hold a joint public hearing between the planning commission, the town council, and the public.
Yeah, you know whose idea that was. Oh, wow. I'm just.
And then, hopefully, right follow, like they'd normally do with public hearings, the town council then would take action on the pre-concept sketch plan, which after that, then you get into the concept plan, the pattern book, and all of the other elements that go through that process. The pattern book, I haven't quite figured out when I submit the pattern book, because you go through a number of reviews on the concept plan before you get down to the pattern book there. And that may be working with the town as to a separate submission of the pattern book before the concept plan. I don't know, it's all new.
It's all new.
Yep.
To us.
As you know, I misstepped and brought the pattern book in, and Leslie said, what the hell are you doing?
I know, what are you doing in the pattern book, right?
But,
Way too
so
soon.
stepping back, you know, in all fairness to the owner developer, Mr. Potapan, we'd like this not to be a 6-month process.
Right.
All right, well, what do we need to do now? Let's just start with right now.
So we already
Okay.
got one, right? We just received the pattern, the pre-concept sketch. You just
Right, which should
submitted
trigger a workshop, called a charrette, but a
Right,
workshop.
it's a workshop, charrette.
it. And that,
I understand. I think the concept is similar to the charrettes we held on.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so the
That's a
plans
vision
would be
plan, yeah.
set up in town hall, the public would be invited to come,
Yeah.
you know, with
not
notice,
between.
to look at it, to provide public comment.
That was
things
very
like that.
successful. Process.
Cool.
There was a lot of appreciation. People
I think that was what that,
Yeah, I think that's what that is. Yeah.
then you have a follow-up separate public hearing where, you know, more formally, like we did tonight, people can comment. And then after that is your town council and planning commission joint public.
Joint charrette.
Workshop. Yeah, and then after that, the town council will meet in a public meeting and consider and approve, disapprove, whatever. Pre-concept plan.
So I think the difference is that the joint workshop is not a charrette, but that's a meeting, a workshop between town council, planning commission, and the developer to discuss.
Yeah.
That,
To
yeah,
a final
that's the final thing. Yeah.
public
Right.
hearing.
Yep. And then from there, other than the addition of the pattern book, it kind of just follows the normal concept review plan after that.
So we have to hold one charrette and then a separate public hearing after that as well? But a public hearing can still be in the, what's going on over there?
I was squeezing a bottle.
Okay, stop.
Okay, so,
And my understanding is
Long meeting.
the 30-day notice is only for the public hearing?
Yeah, for the
Public hearings.
charrette and public hearing shall be advertised as follows. So 30 days for the charrette, where we put the stuff out, people come and look, show and tell, whatever. And then 30 days notice for what's the next step, and that's the more formal public hearing.
Okay, so basically, we need to pick a date for the charrette so that it can be advertised.
right, because it has to do, so.
30 days
between
from
the
now is like New Year's.
Right.
And whether or not you could also pick a date for the public hearing. I mean, you know, when you start
That's
to.
60 days. You essentially, we've moved it out 60 days. We're doing 30 days and 30 days.
Well, we need to look at
She did 30
January.
days, and 2 weeks later, you had the public hearing. Because you
Oh, I
also
see what you're
then
saying.
have
Yeah.
a workshop.
Right, you could do that.
You could do that.
Well,
And then
I
you-
wonder if we can set the charrette like mid-January and then the hearing at our January. Planning.
Yeah, that would be good.
We'd have to check and see if like the 10th's available in January, January 10th, possibly. Okay.
Have to,
Monday in January.
and is town hall available?
That's what
Or
I
you
check.
would have to
I
check?
can't- I
Okay.
can't see
You
that
can't
on my
tell from
phone
there.
right now,
Okay.
but I'm thinking that might be
You
available.
think we can be ready that soon?
Well, they
Well, again, they're,
It's them more so than us.
We've submitted, and quite frankly, to be truthfully honest, this is going to be much to do about a very simple plan. This is not the Beck project.
that's right.
Right, right.
It is a traditional
Sure.
type of.
I actually like,
Something-
and I actually like the design that he already brought in of the shopping center, because it kind of mirrors the,
Whereas
Yeah.
I can understand the Beck being,
right. So if we did the charrette on the 10th, then that gives us time, because our meeting is not, there's 5 Mondays in January, so our meeting is going to be January 31st.
Correct.
So,
It gives us 3 weeks between,
yeah, you ready for this? You got to get them out 30 days.
Well, would you be ready on January 10th?
we've already submitted the plan.
Okay.
I mean, the full plans are submitted. I mean, and we've actually got more detail in the plan than what's required, because
Right.
I misstepped and
Right.
went more towards a concept plan than what you traditionally would see. Townhomes.
Okay,
there and
so
and so forth.
you would have to get the advertisement out for the charrette for 30 days before the 10th.
well, December the 10th, or I guess it'd be the Friday the 10th, or, yeah, it'd have to be Friday the 10th.
Yeah, you'd have to have them out by then.
Which hopefully, I mean, you already have had the list of
Adjourners.
joiners because of the
So-
Board of Appeals meeting.
But this is more like advertising the Frederick Post.
So that's my next question. Since we do not have the messenger anymore, all of our notices are going to have to go out in the Carroll County Times and the Frederick Post. So that's going to cost more money, Mr. Mayor.
No, it goes back to the engineer.
At least for the time being, there's the
Right.
plan.
And it'll ultimately gets
Ultimately, it gets taxed to
to them.
the developer.
We pay for it first.
Yeah, but we pay for it up front.
I think we'll be okay.
All right, so
All
you're
right.
gonna confirm with us like tomorrow or something, that the 10th?
I'll have to make sure that
Right.
January the 10th
And
is
what would
clear.
that be, like 7 or
5.
6 or 6:30 or?
I would say,
How long do you think it'll be, like a couple hours?
I don't think it'd be,
It has to be at least
I don't
2 to 3
think
hours.
say 7.
7 to 9?
7.
Because you're inviting the public to come.
Yeah,
walk
7.
7.
So,
Yeah, 7.
We'll just start at 7 and
Yeah.
it might end at 8.
We don't know.
Could go to 9.
Could go to 10.
Well, we just say 7 to 9 if we want to end at 9 or 9:30.
Is good.
Okay, so we'll get the
Okay.
advertising out on December the 10th.
If you let us know by tomorrow, I'll be able to answer you. If you can't, I'll just have to,
I'll do that first thing in the morning. I'll look and see if, make sure.
Okay.
Town council room is available.
all right.
And then we'll go from there. Right, because we don't want to, or do we want to try to schedule everything out from all the different hearings, et cetera?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we have decided we're canceling the work session for December.
Okay.
And our next planning commission meeting date is January the 31st. We're hoping to have the charrette for the Green Tree property on January the 10th from 7 to 9.
Are we having a planning workshop in January? I mean, sorry, a master planning workshop. No, we're not having one in, well, maybe we're having one in December, but we might not.
Well, the Thursday,
We just canceled there.
The first Thursday in January is, oh gosh, it's January the 6th. No, we always have them on the first Thursday. I'm okay with that. Are we good with that?
We need to look at that work session schedule for next year because I'm looking at February and of course the first Thursday is, the 3rd. But we have a planning commission on the 31st of
Right,
January.
right.
We also have now a charrette on January 10th.
Right.
I'm just wondering,
So maybe
we might be transitioning more out of the workshops. Maybe they're more sporadic, not
Okay.
every first Monday.
Yes.
We have to be more flexible, perhaps.
I think,
Yeah.
I think we're caught up on that current schedule. And again, maybe I'll come back every 2 months or every 3 months or something.
Thank you, and I do appreciate the information that you gave us, that the Frederick County had complied for the census, but there's also a part of the census that deals with income that we need to have,
Okay, I'll do that.
like median income, all that kind of good stuff.
And I've gotten most of that from a combination of Maryland Department of Planning, and I've gotten some from Carroll County. I'd like to see how Frederick's compares. But it'd be very useful for us with our master plan update.
So we're going to try to do the workshop on January the 6th, and we start those at 6:30, right? 6 or 6? 6 to 8. My schedule's filling up already. My dance card's starting to.
Speaking of filling up the schedule,
Yes.
you talk about the second part of the looking at dates for a charrette and a joint public hearing so that the town council has an idea to think about for dates.
I think it would be smart to go ahead and have some preliminary dates, just to see if that works for enough people.
So if we have the hearing on January 31st, that doesn't give it enough time to get into the agenda, so it wouldn't come up then until March.
Well, unless they put it on their agenda for something, but naturally, I'm trying to speed along because we're like almost.
So put it on the
6 months into
agenda, so the,
6
on the
months into-
agenda for January, the joint charrette, we'll have to determine a date for the joint charrette for Green Tree.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
The meeting's not until.
I know, February.
Yeah, I mean, but you said something about making it to the council in February. It could be, because it's on the council meeting is not until the 7th of February.
Oh, that's right. But you're supposed to give 2 weeks' notice.
Oh,
right? Okay.
For the council, you mean, or? For
Yes.
No, it's about a week normally, so. maybe, we'll figure it
Well,
out.
we're trying to follow protocol here, so.
Oh, that's fine.
Don't we need to do, if we're doing something at our January meeting on the 31st?
Right, yeah, can't.
They can't do something.
They can't, no, you can't do it on the 7th. You're talking about putting it on the agenda to make the decision, yes.
Oh,
But you
okay,
can't do the joint charrette on the 7th.
Oh, gotcha, never mind.
I mean, if there has to be 30 days between them, then we're into March.
Well,
No,
I'm
it just
not
has
sure there's
to-
30 days. I think you potentially could hold the joint public hearing on the first Monday in March, the 7th, and hold a workshop in February after your public hearing. But the council would then need to agree in order to advertise. Well, how many 30 days? They make
Yeah,
that decision
30
in
days.
February, or does it have to be earlier?
It's gonna be just reasonable notice on that, whatever spell out.
It is.
Well, then we could do it in the first week in March.
Yeah, I would like to have the public hearing for the town council the first week,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
that Monday in March, yes.
Yeah.
He's saying it's not 30 days.
But he's saying.
No, it doesn't. It's reasonable notice.
And you could,
Thanks, Tom.
Well, listen, there's a lot of stuff that's gonna be happening here in the next year, and we're
I
gonna
just
have to be
wanted to-
flexible
I just wanted to get on the calendar,
Yeah.
because I know it's gonna fill, and I'm gonna be
Right.
looking in July. asking
No, we don't want
for
that.
a joint public hearing.
I think the March meeting is good. I mean, it's not 30 days, but it's close.
But that's up to the town council. So,
Well, they'd have to put it on their calendar.
right,
Potentially, I don't know whether or not it could be on the January agenda to set a public hearing,
I think so.
March.
Yeah. Mention.
Yeah, Carl, why don't you float the idea?
Yeah, mention in.
Schedule and see what the reaction is.
And what date you're scheduling or
Yeah, hold on,
floating
that's the
Jason
report.
and town council again?
The first Monday in March, which would be the 7th.
Your first Monday, which is a council meeting, by the way.
Right, that's
Okay.
typically when you
Okay.
hold,
Well, that's when you hold the,
Okay, I just want to make.
you hold your public hearings.
Okay, so it's public.
Yeah.
it's not a joint thing.
Okay, mention report first Monday in March.
And then you could hold a workshop. Middle or whatever of February. Quite frankly, you may want to earlier than middle in case that last workshop says, well, can you revise something for the public hearing?
Well, the charrette would be the 10th,
The workshop charrettes is January the 10th.
right, so then
Then we go to our public hearing
on the 31st.
on the 31st. Then there has to be a joint,
Workshop.
County Planning Commission shall hold a public joint workshop with the applicant to discuss the pre-concept
And that can happen
sketch layout. Yeah.
or
Just says after completion
Second week of
the
February.
charrette's public hearing, so it doesn't-
right.
so like what's the
So could
second week of
that
February?
could occur before the March 7th?
Yeah, because if we're gonna do that joint, we're gonna try to do that joint thing on the 3rd of February instead of our workshop, right?
Oh,
And that's the joint,
That's the same, it'd be the 10th because we already have a meeting on that week. Monday, the 31st is the planning commission meeting. Unless you want to do 2 meetings in 1 week. I mean, you all volunteer, so it's kind of like,
what do you mean we have 2 meetings in 1 week?
because the 31st is
Thursday,
Monday.
first.
Thursday.
The 31st.
All right, then do it well,
To the next week.
February 10th then.
31:10.
And then it can be at the next, the public hearing by the council can be at the next council meeting in March,
On the 7th, that's almost 30 days. But
March the 7th. It doesn't have to be, that one doesn't have to be 30.
Only if Carl can get him to, I'm confused.
Are you
I get the date-
confused?
Yeah, I'm getting the dates. Okay, so the 30th.
Write them down in a straight line.
I'm trying to, yeah, I've got them set.
So,
January 31st is
well,
is
the
your
10th,
all's hearing.
The 10th is the charrette.
Oh, the 110 is the charrette.
Right, it's the charrette. The January 31st is the planning commission meeting, the hearing.
PC hearing, okay.
Then February 10th is the workshop, the joint workshop.
February 10th, okay.
And then, yeah, February 10th. And then
Okay.
March is the council hearing.
March 7th is your meeting.
March 7th, council meeting, okay.
And that would be the hearing. You'd have the public hearing then.
March 7th, yeah. That's a Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 110 charrette, does that need to be joint, or is that, okay? So the only thing joint with the council is the one in February 10th, correct?
Correct.
And we know the public hearings require a 30-day notice. The charrette requires any type of
Public hearings, we don't have, it's not written that they have to be.
the code
This
says
one
30
is.
days.
This one is.
You have 30 days advance notice. The second public hearing for the planning commission must have 30 days.
Right.
Okay, we can do that.
Which means I need to get postcards out and signage on the property
Correct.
and advertisements in the newspaper.
Correct. You're going to be a busy boy January 1.
All right, so charrette.
Before
Or
January.
before January 1.
Just for clarification, the charrette and joint public hearing do not require the 30-day notice.
Okay.
So you're getting a motorcycle.
Need to hire somebody.
Every unit, we post, we have a.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I was just thinking about that the other day. Yeah.
So this, I gotta mention, this February 10th. We'll keep our calendars clear.
And please, when you're talking to the town council, I mean, I know that there might be some conflicts, but we really have to, because there's so many working parts here, we got to keep it clean.
Okay, Tom, maybe this, you can answer, does a majority of the council have to be at any of these, except, obviously at the council meeting on the 7th of March?
You're talking about the joint commission.
Not the workshop, but where the town council is voting on something that they want to read.
Okay, so I'm talking about the workshop. The workshop, most of us can attend, not all of us, if there's not a schedule. Of course, March 7th at the council meeting, we need to, okay. So there is some flexibility within the town council
And
schedule.
theoretically, they also can attend the charrette.
Yeah.
Right.
And to get information and discuss
If we
the
want.
plan.
Yeah.
And hopefully,
I could just basically say, here's the dates for the green tree, attend if you want, we would like it to, X, Y, these dates.
I think the town council has to agree to the last 2 dates.
Okay, the workshop and
The
the.
joint workshop, they have to agree to those 2 dates.
Yeah, or at least most of us at the workshop on the 10th, or some of us, okay, and then the council meeting on the 7th, okay.
Speaking of council, and I think it was our last workshop, we have our neighborhood professional, we made amendments to the ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got the community commercial that's somewhere that we made like a few months ago, back in June, I think. So they need to be presented to the council.
Okay, that needs to be added, okay, neighborhood.
All righty. So, one last thing, right?
Oh, it's time to go.
Cool.
It's
10, we have the 10:30.
Oh, I thought it was 10. I thought
I think it says 10:30, I'm
we
not
got to
sure.
leave it.
Yeah.
Minute.
We have,
Minutes.
well, we have one item left, and that's the election of chair and vice chair. So, do I hear a motion to open?
I motion open the election.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded. We open up the election for nominations for election for chair and vice chair of the planning commission. We will do the chair first. Anyone have any
I'll
nomination?
nominate Roxanne Hemphill for chair.
And I'll second.
I guess I'll agree.
Roxanne doesn't want to be chair anymore.
No, I'll agree. That's okay.
So much work.
Others, and I actually do kind of like it. I know I'm a glutton for punishment. All those in favor of Roxanne Hemphill for chairperson signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. We'll have the nominations for vice chair.
I will nominate Bill Butts, if you should have it.
I would accept it.
Anyone else? All those in favor of Bill Butts signify by saying,
Second.
We have the second.
oh, it's second. Is there a second?
Did the second is on?
I'll second it.
You probably could, actually.
Yeah. All those in favor of Bill Butts remaining as vice chair signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Congratulations. And I can close the nominations without, close them without a motion. And I can also adjourn the meeting. But before I do, is there anybody have anything else? Chick-fil-A opens December 2nd. 6:30 a.m., but Nellie's going tomorrow, right? Yeah. Nellie Brown, she's 96. It was on her bucket list. She wanted to be the first one into the Chick-fil-A. So she's getting her wish. Yeah, she's gonna, yeah. I think that's cool. So I won't be here. I hope,
Six is the name.
I'm not gonna be around that place for a while, that's for sure. Meeting's adjourned. I will see you all. Have a great week,
Yeah, take care of it.
great 2 weeks. I keep thinking it's the end of December.